Hello everyone, welcome back to Ask a Scientist Gaming, where we combine mediocre gameplay with expert science. I'm Ken Hansen, Associate Professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. I'm a photochemist slash photophysicist. I shine light on molecules and materials, and I want to know what happens to that light energy, whether it's moving electrons, moving energy around, moving protons, making and breaking bonds, and hopefully understanding it well enough we can control it to do useful things like solar energy conversion, photocatalysis, photomechanics, using light energy to do useful product generation or useful process generation. But more importantly, joining me today is Dr. Roxanne Hughes. Roxanne, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. I don't know if I can. I thought I was a fast talker, Ken, but you're a pretty fast talker.
Well, I told my last guest, this is the 93rd time I've done that introduction, so it's pretty polished at this point.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Roxanne Hughes, rare gamer. That's why we have Super Mario. I think the last time I played games was the late 80s. But I am a associate professor in the Science Education Department in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences. And I am also the director of the Center for Integrating Research and Learning at the National High Magnetic Field Lab, more commonly known as the MabLAB.
All right, equally important, what game are we starting with?
We are starting with Super Mario Land.
Super Mario Land. We're going to Game Boy. So whenever you're ready, let's do this. So those of you too young to remember, Game Boy was one of the first handheld consoles that had switchable cartridges. So I don't know if you remember like the static ones where you bought like Street Fighter and all it did was like move arms on a screen. But this one you actually changed cartridges and you could play different games, and it changed everything for gaming. Yeah,
because before that we had a Commodore 64 that was the family computer, and I would play games on that with the joystick. Mm-hmm. And this was a Christmas present for me and my sister, and we were obsessed with it. Like, that was how, if we didn't do our chores or things like that, that was the punishment, was taking away the Game Boy.
Dang, Roxanne Hughes was already cool, and now she's even cooler playing Mario Land. Oh, there you go. You got some internet cred for playing Mario Land. Oh, man. We do have to explain to them the nightmare that was Game Boy, though. So two things I remember distinctly. I never had one, but I had friends that had one. Batteries. It just chewed through them so quickly. It was not efficient at all. The second thing is it didn't have backlighting.
No, so it was very dark.
Yep. If you guys have had like a Kindle that doesn't have backlighting, that's what it was like. So you couldn't play in the dark. And so if you tried to do this in a car, I don't know if you remember that at night where like street lights were coming through and you got vision once in a while.
I get car sick anyway, so I was not playing this in the car.
Yeah. Man, that was an experience.
So you didn't have one?
No, I did not. I missed out on Game Boy.
Okay.
I had Sega and a Nintendo. Those were my go-to. Before that, we had not the Atari 2600. It was one of the Atari iterations. It was like a garage sale. We got it. But, man, my favorite part about this. So if you get a chance to go on top of that platform right there. So jump up in the air and watch the down physics, like normal fall, and then walk to the left. Just walk. Boop. It's like, if you walk off a platform, you drop immediately. And I don't know why that happens, but that's the best.
I mean, that would probably be, maybe playing this is why physics wasn't my favorite.
Well, one of the things I like, and people are like, why science in video games, is because video games is quintessential scientific method. And I think it's really underappreciated in like casual science education, because the physics in this game are not the same as the physics in our game. Mm-hmm. And so you trial and error, you learn, you experiment, you have a hypothesis. If I do this, it'll work out. And so, yeah, it's a fun, I don't know what that.
Yeah, didn't do it.
Yeah.
Should have gone up the ladder.
Do you have to like time it up or something? I don't remember it. Played Mario Land in the back of my parents' car while they shopped.
Well, I mean, that was awesome for your parents. They didn't have to worry about like you being bored.
Yeah. Well, we were also the Zennial, right? Do you know where your kids are? So King Willie, presumably you were in our generation as well. Or they didn't have to parent us.
Yeah, I'm Gen X, so it was like latchkey kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do you know it's 10 o'clock? Do you know where your kids are?
No, and no one cared.
Yeah, Willie. I was 1982, so I'm just like borderline Gen X millennial.
That's my sister.
Yeah. But yeah, we were pre-internet, but also not quite fully Gen X.
Yeah, I feel like it's a generation that can appreciate change. Like with things are moving faster now. With we talked before about AI and ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like our generation is kind of like able to accept that because we've seen so many changes.
Well, I've heard some analysis of this, right? So like this nomenclature of digital natives, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's a myth, right? Because they don't actually know the technology.
Right.
We had it when it was janky and you had to actually like interface with things.
Yeah.
And there we go.
We do a lot of waiting.
No, it's safe. You got time. We can do infinite time as well if you want. Any video game purists, avert your eyes. We have Game Genie codes, infinite lives. So Roxanne is cheating.
I told Ken that I'd never made it to the end of this game. So maybe tonight I will.
We're doing it. If not, we're putting on star power. What is that?
It's an elevator. Yeah.
What the heck? Oh. I'm so impressed you remember that. That's awesome. Wow. And this is the final level on 1? This is like the boss level or castle?
I think so. I will know when we get to the one where I've never gotten past it. Like that is what I can remember vividly.
Distinct. I like it. All right, so you had some time to settle in despite, not being on a Game Boy. So Roxanne is playing this on an emulator on a PC screen with a Nintendo controller. So semi-original. But you had some time to settle in. And so the question we open with every single time, because it's important, most students think that just because we became experts in our particular domain, we were destined to do this from day one. And so I imagine that, 5-year-old Roxanne was not envisioning playing video games while talking about science and her expertise.
No.
So what was the winding roads? And in particular, in retrospect, there are milestone events where there's a fork in the road and a decision was made.
Sure.
And so what were those events and what influenced that decision?
So I can't remember. Well, I can actually. So I was super into TV as a kid, as a 5-year-old. And although my parents weren't that psyched about it, I realized it's because I was always interested in stories. And I wasn't, it took me a while to get the hang of reading. I was a little behind my classmates. But once I did find books and stories that were of interest, that it just really took off. There's a way to do that. And so I bring that back to my own research, which is focusing on how do people feel, how do people learn about science, become interested in science, feel like they belong, and want a career in science. Mm-hmm. And I think probably your audience is aware of it, but there's a lot of stereotypes around science. When I ask people what they picture when they picture a scientist, it's usually the Einstein picture, particularly the goofy one with his tongue out.
Yeah.
And so that leaves out a lot of folks if you're not goofy, if you're not an old white man, as most people are not when they're in school. And so I came to it. So I taught high school. I taught high school science for 5 years. And I also coached cross country and track. And I noticed a difference in the confidence levels of my girls in my classes and the boys in my classes. An example would be I had one girl who was an amazing athlete. She was on my team, and she was also in my chemistry class and got 100 on the midterm and tested. She didn't have to take the final. And I remember talking to her, and I remember talking to her dad at a track meet, and was like, yeah, she's got like a real career in science. And he was like, oh no, she's really not that great at school, so we're so glad like she's got track. And I was like, she got 100, and he was like, yeah, but that's because like you're her teacher. And I don't know if he was alluding to like I like gave her 100 or something like that. But I was just like, huh. And she was like, no, I'm not a science person, you know. And then the other piece was the confidence related to athletics. So there was a young woman who was like all state in basketball. And I was like, oh, what, are you going to play basketball in college? And she was like, no, I'm not good enough. And I was like, you're all state, like you're good enough to play. But then I would have boys who were sitting the bench on like JV football, and they were like, I'm going to play college football. And I was like, wow, there's definitely a different level of confidence here. So that's what got me interested in gender dynamics of with science and with other things. But then my research is qualitative, and I have to explain that often because it means that I study people's stories, essentially. And a lot of it is longitudinal over time, following folks across their lifespan. So whether that is, you know, middle school to college, but through those transitional points. And Ken, you're probably aware, but maybe the folks listening in are not. There's a couple of places where we really lose people to science, and it's late elementary school. Stereotypes start to kind of set in. In fact, there's been research on as early as kindergarten. Kids they define girls and boys, and this is binary by gender, the research, but they associate smartness by gender, and boys are seen as smart and girls are not identified as smart by these kindergartners. But then the transition point is late elementary school because science starts to become less, it's more about the standardized test and less about curiosity. And oftentimes you open by saying that, you know, video games are like science. You get to trial and error, you get to make mistakes. And I mean, there's repercussions to it, but you can start over and all of that kind of stuff. But in school, it's not often taught that way. And then when students get to middle school, it's broken up into disciplines. And although we have disciplines, like you can be in physics, oftentimes it's really interdisciplinary. Like you said, you were a photochemist / photophysicist. There's not really a delineation in terms of what you do. And so, but we do that in schools, and it's a false dichotomy. And folks start to think of, oh, I'm a biology person, but I'm not a physical science person. Or they think, and math is another area where we see that kind of, people feel like they can't do it because they're not good at math. And like my personal experience is math is, you know, developmentally, like it made sense when it made sense for me. And you know, grouping students by, you know, like putting them into algebra or those kinds of things, you differentiate, and students realize they're the smart student or they're not the smart student, and only smart students go into science. And I think it's even harder now for folks, but like you have to kind of choose a career, choose like a path in middle school, and you don't even have the opportunity. Here in Florida, like folks can be taking, and I think it's great, but they can be taking community college classes and things like that. So they don't have much time to explore. And so like the another transition point is high school, but a lot of students never end up taking physics, so they don't even know if physics is like an interesting subject for them, which is a real loss. And the way that it's taught, we don't give them an opportunity to do experiential learning, to learn more about careers. Most of them think it's just, you know, stoichiometry for chemistry. Like, and there's like so much more to it. So there's not much exploration. So after all of this, let's say they get to college and they want to be a STEM major. The next transition point are the weed out courses that they take. So often those are, you know, organic chem, physics, calculus. And For a lot of students, if they've made it to college, they were probably really good at school. And when you get to college and you get your first C or even an F on a test, that can make them feel like this isn't a place for me. I don't belong here. And they'll leave. And there might be a great opportunity for them if they saw the motivation or got the right, pedagogy or extra help or those kinds of things. And I can go on, but those are there's transition points in grad school. There's transition points in the career of if research is the right place or policy or whatever. But there's so many opportunities for folks to get lost or to feel like it's not the right place for them. And so I've studied all of those various times when it can be. And I mean, we can get into mentorship. It's not just that the way courses are, it could be that a teacher just did not think that you were good at science and told you that. And so that was what got you into this. And I think you initially asked this question. So the stories that I have is I had an AP Chem teacher and I was going to him for help after for class one day. And he was asking me what career I was interested in. And I said I wanted to be a medical doctor. And he was like, oh, I don't think medicine's the way to go. And I never asked, so I have no idea what he meant. I don't know why he said that. I was just I was kind of I think defensive, I don't even remember. So I don't even know why he said that.
Yeah.
But it started, it's just a moment of doubt. And then I went in, so I was a pre-med major, biology major, and I didn't know there were other things to do, I had no idea that there was opportunities for research, for so many other things. I just thought it was pre-med, and I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do 5 more years of school. Irony, I got a master's degree and then a PhD.
Right.
So, and then but even then, there was a moment where I had a biochem professor, and he was helping, I guess, as we were doing our lab, and I was a college athlete, so if I finished my lab, I could make it and run with the rest of the team. Otherwise, I had to run by myself, and that was not as enticing. And so we'd put our stuff in the fume hood.
Sniped.
And we'd put our stuff in the fume hood, and he kept messing with everybody's stuff, and it was exploding, and then they'd have to start over. And I told my lab partner, I'm like, we can't let him touch our specimen in there. He did, and I was like, oh, crap, we're not going to make it to practice. And he was like, if that's your attitude, then you're never going to make it in science. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess efficiency.
But he was intentionally sabotaging, or
he was doing, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was shaking everybody's stuff, so maybe he was.
Wow. It's a bold move.
But that was the other time I'm like, oh, I guess having, and I might have interpreted that as having a life was not cohesive with science. But I went into teaching, and that gets back to the other part of that story. So I think I got to everything, Ken. Sorry.
I mean, no worries. So you taught for 5 years, and then you went back and said, I want to study this phenomena. So then you went to grad school, and you got a master's degree. And master's?
I got a master's degree while I was teaching.
Okay.
Because I was just a bio major, and I didn't have any teaching experience.
I see.
So just let me pay attention here. So I got the master's degree in secondary education.
I see. And then you went and committed to grad school and said,
sight unseen.
Get a PhD.
FSU. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's an intense transition.
From New Jersey.
It's Florida. It's fine. All right. So after you got your PhD, then your next steps were what?
So I, as you could tell, I'm interested in, particularly girls and women, and, making STEM more inclusive for girls and women. And so one of the members of my, committee was sitting on a plane in Tallahassee with the head of WFSU, our local radio station and television station. And they were just talking, and he was talking about this new program that they were just going to start that summer called Sci Girls. And it was an all-girls summer camp to get girls interested in science. And she was like, I have a grad student who would love to, volunteer or just learn more about it. And so she connected me with the director of the program, who was the director of the Center for Integrating Research and Learning at the MabLAB. And if that sounds familiar, that's because that is my job now. So it was my predecessor, Pat Dixon, and I met with her, and I was like, I just think Sci Girl sounds like an amazing program. I wish there had been something like that for me. And she was like, if you wanna come and observe, and if you want to conduct research, you can. I didn't do research. I just went to observe. And after that summer, she found a research position for me. And I taught Sci Girls from 2008 until I became the director of Searle in 2012. And one of my Sci Girls just recently graduated. I say my, but one of our Sci Girls just recently graduated with her PhD in Science Ed last Friday. And so it's just kind of, I know I almost had it.
So close.
So from there, I ended, my dissertation wasn't on Sci Girls, but it was on undergraduates at FSU. And so, yeah, that's how I got, and then once I got my PhD, my predecessor was like, I'm going to retire. And she got me a postdoc at the MabLAB. And so I was able to stay on, and I applied for the position, and I got it. So I started in that position in 2012.
Nice. Going back to that story, the one teacher who was like, don't go into medicine. Are they still alive? That's probably worth an email, right? Because I've had that conversation with students. So I teach general chemistry, right? So it's like I get all the pre-meds, and they all think they want to go to med school. And the thing I emphasize to them is I need you money and prestige and all that's ingrained in your brain. But let's just be clear. Most of you are not going to be house, right? You're not going to be solving exotic. What you're going to be doing is customer service for medical things. Right. So be aware of what you're signing up for. And if you don't want to do that, find an alternative.
Right.
Because it is not house most of the time for most people.
It's not the curiosity driven. I think research, even policy, because that's what my PhD is in education policy. And I was focused on programs and policies that, try to make STEM more inclusive. Or engaging. But that was the thing too, of realizing I didn't know enough about STEM possibilities. And as much as I say I wish there was a program, I didn't know that, and that was, back that long ago. But I hear people say that even now. When they come to our programs at the MabLAB, they were like, I didn't know that this was even a career, that there are opportunities to blend multiple interests besides STEM. So those are some of the work that I currently do, is helping teachers to advocate for that kind of stuff with their students, and helping scientists to, have those conversations, talk more about not just their science, but their other interests. Which is why I said yes to this, even though I'm not necessarily a video game player. I was like, this is how you get folks to
you keep
see
saying that, but you're very clearly a video gamer. You have played this a lot. King Willie gave you a shout out. You're doing very well. So, yeah, I don't think you've seen bad video gaming recently, because I have. I won't name names, but yeah. But yeah, this is a unique science outreach endeavor. We reach dozens of people. We appreciate those dozens of people. Now, with that said, we probably average over 100 viewers per stream.
Yeah.
When you break that down to most science outreach, which is visiting a high school, which is important, but also it's 20 people, and it's a standard medium, and they're forced to be there. When you have 100 a night here, it's yeah, we'll take that.
Well, and you got to reach people where they're at, and that's not always in schools. even, my interest is in, like, I loved sports, and, that's what sometimes gets folks to come to school, and, connecting that with science. But a lot of the folks that, I work with, they also have, a lot of the physicists at the MabLAB, they are really interested in music. They play music, or they just, there's science involved in that. So I think that, connecting people and showing them that you've got more than one, you don't just sleep in the lab.
Yeah. Sometimes we play video games.
Now, what was your first video game, Ken?
Man. Yeah, it might have been Pitfall. Pitfall was one of the early ones. The ones I remember most vividly is Mario.
Yeah.
That was the first Mario for the NES that came with the console when you got it. That one I remember playing a lot. So yeah. Then I just moved to Sega from there, and then skipped a few generations and played Xbox, a lot of Halo first-person shooters in college. And then yeah, World of Warcraft a little bit. Then I stopped playing video games for like a decade.
Was that grad school?
I was towards the end of grad school. That's when I cut off my World of Warcraft habit. But yeah, we had like, Rock Band. That was fun.
Yeah.
Parties. Debbie used to like playing that one a bunch. But yeah. Medicine is not the way to go. You could at least give it an explanation. I'm like, that's a fair opinion, but man.
Yeah, because it could have been for that reason.
Yeah, no, it could have been, or just like,
I'll never know.
Medicine's going to be solved. I mean, my concern now is like, there are generative AIs that are better at diagnosing, right? The symptoms list.
Well,
right? So
I was just talking about, what generative AI can do for us as researchers, not just in the field of medicine, but like health, compiling that kind of data. But there's questions that it can answer that we have not been able to answer yet, which is really like fascinating.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what it does to our jobs, like what is our value in the circumstance? And this is a big debate, right? Even the idea of cheating with it, right? So if you ask, someone in the 1970s, having your own calculator is cheating. Right? Like, and now that's accepted practice. Similarly, early spell checks, like early 2000 when everyone had it. Is spell check cheating? I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends what your opinions are, right? So is generative AI cheating? I don't know. Yeah, there was a recent issue in Journal of Chemical Education, basically like, how do we utilize this? How do we study it? There aren't good answers yet.
No.
We don't know what we're doing.
No, and it's changing so fast. So even it's like, I think higher ed and policy is so slow, like for a good reason. We don't want to, change major curriculum or things like that. But the way that AI is going to be moving, it's going to be hard to. Oh, I can't get this guy. Hard to kind of keep up with that in our traditional ways.
Just want to point out how dumb it is that there's a cannon coming out of a tube. This game. I really, of the Mario games, I dislike this one the most. Between the broken physics and stuff like that. Like, did you see that fall? That's just, what? This game's so unrealistic. But we're going to beat it tonight, so this is totally worth it. But yeah, if you guys haven't played this, it feels like clunky, like the movements, like your hitboxes and everything. I know when contrasting it to the NES version, it feels very different. And the fall. Oh, that's fun. You got to ride it. I like it. Oh man. All right. So we talked about your journey. I mean, is there any advice? Because you mentioned that like the timelines have changed. So I changed majors 4 times when I was an undergrad.
Wow, what were they?
And I was an athlete as well, so I did a 5-year because I had a redshirt year.
Yeah.
And,
what was your sport?
So I was track and field.
Okay, cool. What event?
High jumper, actually. That was my go-to.
Yeah.
But I changed, and that was one of the issues. Is I was an athlete, right? And so I was football, basketball, karate, track, like I did everything. And I damaged myself pretty bad, actually. And so I spent a lot of time with athletic trainers and physical therapists. And so
Me too.
I started out with thought of going into athletic training.
Yeah.
Then exercise science. Yeah. Then biomedical science. And then ultimately chemistry.
Yeah.
And so each step along the way, it was like I took a class where I was like, oh, I'm in a biology class and they're talking about the phospholipid bilayer, right? And they have this ambipolar molecule. It's charged on this one and it's nonpolar on this end. And the most interesting part to me was that molecular structure, like this is what dictates that.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can control those atoms, you can make these shapes and you can make, you know, cells essentially from these assemblies. And that was my transition, like, hey, maybe I should start thinking about atoms.
Yeah. Yeah, because most people in exercise science would have just cared about like how that affects the muscles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not to be judgmental of that. It's just like, what level of abstraction do you want to understand the world? And for me, it was like, I want to know what the atoms are doing.
Yeah.
And then chemistry was a conclusion of that. But it also meant, I mean, like now students have to get out in 4 years, right? That's what FSU pushes. And you can't change majors easily during that window.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah.
And the caliber of students that we're getting, like at FSU and some of these like big universities, they're already at a junior level by the time they get to FSU.
Yeah, the number of AP.
Yeah. So you're like, oh man, there's no time for them to kind of figure things out. That's funny. I also was injured I probably had like 8 years of eligibility left. I had 5 stress fractures in college.
Oh God. And that's distance running?
Yep. Yeah.
God, damn, that's brutal. Yeah, mine was just knee surgeries.
Yeah, that's still, yeah, that's not just.
No, I feel it now. Some regrets. But yeah.
Did you watch the high jump in the Olympics?
I did.
Oh my gosh, these last two, those,
the tie?
Oh, the tie, like I broke down crying.
Pushing,
like I was just like, this is like such beautiful sport.
Mm-hmm. They're good friends. They attended each other's weddings.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. But that said, I want to see somebody break the world record. 8 foot 1/4 inch. It's been there for 35 years.
That's insane. My partner and I were watching it, and I was like, I want you to like look at that window, like in my house. And I'm like, that's how high they were jumping.
Yep.
It's like so hard to believe.
Yeah.
Or to like fathom.
I was never. I had the 2 meter threshold, so I have that going for me. But I was the short guy amongst the high jumpers, which is kind of crazy.
I know, because they're very tall.
Yeah, so even at 6'2", I was still a small guy amongst the crowd. Yeah.
There's a book about like sports genes or something. I never get titles or things correct, but and it was about how the sports are so specialized now that like there's only like certain body types that can do the level. So it's like high jumpers at that Olympic level have to be like, 6 or 10, or like they're just lanky and you can kind of tell their build.
Yeah, I love that for gymnastics as well. So the tallest gymnast in the last 15 years was like 5'7", which is an anomaly.
Yeah.
But it's simply angular momentum and a physics problem.
Right.
Right? If you need to spin a lot, shorter is better.
Yep.
Yeah. The most interesting example of that I've seen is the height. Like there's advantages of being tall and short, but there's one particular event in track and field where there's a middle ground of where there's an ideal height. And it's actually hurdles.
Yes.
Because you need an optimum number of steps.
Yeah.
You can't be too tall or too short or you screw up that rhythm. Yeah, that's exercise science, biomechanics, applying analytics to human behavior and performance.
Yeah, because that was the career that I was thinking about was sports psychology. Before going into college, and then in college, I did think about, we didn't have exercise science or physical therapy, but I was thinking that could be like a viable option for after. But when I had my 5th year of eligibility, I went to a small liberal arts school, and there weren't that many options for a master's degree. And it was like education and psychology, but I was like, I don't know even about psychology. Like, I don't know what I would do because you need advanced degrees. And so I went with education.
But you'd be surprised how often we serve as psychologists for students, and they don't tell you that part of the mentorship thing. Like, you run a research group, you're going to deal with a lot of stuff. We are not qualified or prepared for any of it, but what you do. People are hard.
Yeah.
That's what I learned in this job.
And I think like I don't think I fully appreciated like stress. A little bit in college, but grad school was definitely grad school stressful.
Yeah.
So that's a time when you realize like how you deal with stress, if you deal with stress, if it's video games or
Yeah, and I think a lot of my sports training, I mean, it's like you have that stress. You know what performance anxiety is. You know what preparation for a big event is.
Yeah, time management.
Yep.
That was like a huge... I get teased a lot because I will complete things ahead of time, like way before the deadline, and it was just from being a high school and college athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a fun study on that. It was like people were worried that, in-season athletes were going to do worse in academics, but it turns out the opposite was true.
Yeah, out of season, yeah.
In season, you're organized, you're on top of it, you're on schedule, you need to get stuff done. Out of season, it's just like, let's coast.
Well, the benefits of being a distance runner was that I was never out of season.
Nice.
There's always plenty of miles to run.
Yeah.
Cross country, indoor, outdoor.
One thing I'll give this game is it does do like different environments. You're in Egypt, you're in a cave, like other Marios don't do that. But you're feeling this? How high? I don't know how many levels there are in this game. So you're on 3-2.
Okay.
Do you know how many there are?
I do not.
Let's look.
This is not the one where I've never made it to the end. So I've made it past this one.
So you're going to come to a level where it's just Mario Land levels. How many levels? So it says there are 12 levels. What? 8 worlds with 4 levels each.
Wow. This could go all night.
No, that's Super Mario Bros. Okay, Super Mario Land is smaller with 12 levels subdivided into 4 worlds, 3 levels each. Okay. So you're on 3-2. So you'll do 3-3 and then you'll be on the final land. So you're actually flying. We're only 37 minutes in. What do you think the speedrun record on this is? The fastest anyone has beat this game? What's your guess? You've been playing for 37 minutes. How fast can someone beat this?
I'm going to go with 10 minutes.
Pretty close. 12 minutes, 21 seconds. Set 1 year ago.
Wow. Wow. So people just play old games.
As we play old games. No, I love these old games. Like, the rules were very specific. You just follow them, beat the level as fast as you can. As we will do with NARC later tonight. So I hope you guys are excited. Buckle in. We'll visit 1989 Nintendo War on Drugs. Classic.
So that's what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
So is that character a ninja? What is the character that I am playing in that?
He's a police officer.
Oh, he's a police officer. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Dressed like a ninja.
What I'm supposed to be, or what? Why this guy slinging pizzas at me?
Yep. Oh, classic. All right, but yeah, if you guys have any questions for Roxanne, she's happy to answer them, talking about science education and mentorship, science identities, talking about non-traditional educational outreach endeavors like Ask a Scientist Gaming on Twitch. If you guys have any questions you want to know about, the role of gender and identity in science and career choices, Roxanne is happy to answer those questions while playing Mario Land. Making progress. We're only, four levels away from beating this?
That would be like quite an accomplishment of 2024 to finally get to the end of Super Mario.
That goes on the resume, right?
It's 2024.
Exactly. This is Christmas carding right now. Well, you'll have YouTube video to share with friends and family, so there will be evidence. Oh, here it is. World 4, ladies and gentlemen. Or no, now it's 3-3. So then you'll have one boss and then final level. Oh, man. All right, so one of the classics we like to watch, we talked about video game physics, right? You can study physics in video games, but one of my favorite things is my wife and I have been cord cutters for 15 years now, so we don't do cable, we mostly do just movies and Netflix and whatnot. So we've seen a lot of movies. So one of the things I like to ask is, are there movies or TV shows that you watch that get your discipline right or wrong? And so this could be discipline broadly defined, how they portray scientists in general. I mean, there's a lot of...
Oh, yeah.
So what gets it right?
So in terms of education, Abbott Elementary is fantastic. And I grew up in South Jersey and went to college in Philadelphia. And so I'm very familiar, lived in Philly for a little bit. So I think Abbott Elementary gets elementary school really well.
So you taught. What grades did you teach?
I taught high school chemistry, physical science, biology, anatomy and physiology.
But it was all high school, right?
All high school,
you were not,
yeah.
Okay, you didn't do middle school.
I did not do middle school. I taught Sci Girls, and that is middle school. But middle school is an age. I feel for all parents of middle schoolers. It's an age where they're trying to figure out who they are, and I love that about them. But juniors and seniors in high school have a sense of humor. Like, I get it. I like to laugh. And middle schoolers, it can be mean, their sense of humor sometimes. Like, they're just testing it out and they don't know what's hurtful and what's not. So to me, high school was like the sweet spot for them to be funny. But yeah, it's so I think that, and I have to say, most recently, I think Oppenheimer. You probably get that a lot, but I think I have to say World War II is really, really fascinating, and the MabLAB has a facility at Los Alamos. So I've been out there, and I just find Los Alamos, the story of Los Alamos. Whatever your opinion about the atomic bomb is, just the creation of Los Alamos, and it's a small area, what they were able to do, the history of it is really fascinating.
Veteran move right there. Yeah. Nice. Nice shout out on that. But I've also been to Hiroshima and seen the Peace Museum, and seen. And I think the story of Oppenheimer, they have to take some license, but he was affected by that and his role. And I was listening to a podcast, a science podcast today, even, and the general from Oppenheimer that was played by Matt Damon in the movie, he was all over America, telling people, here's what you're going to do, telling scientists at universities, okay, here's what you're going to do with this, because they were talking about Teflon. And he was at DuPont, okay, you guys are going to figure out what to do with Teflon. It's got to be nylon. We've got to do something. It's got to be used for the military. And I was like, that guy, got around the United States. Yeah. So I think Oppenheimer, I like that it told a story of the complexity, provided more personality for a scientist. So anything that kind of tells the complicated personalities and stories of them. Tesla, for anyone that's watching, most science nerds love Tesla, and he had a complicated story. He's a weird dude. Let's be honest. Let's not mince words. Tesla was a weird dude. So was Newton. I don't think he has a biopic yet.
So it's those one of the books that I really, really enjoyed was Speaker for the Dead. In the Ender's Game series, and I feel we're all complex human beings, and we need to speak truth to that. I don't want to remember people as just they're a hero and they did these things. It's there's more. The complexity is what's interesting.
Yeah. King Willie. Oppenheimer was the Avengers of names you see in science books. Absolutely. There's a who-who of modern physics, right? That's the birth of modern physics.
Feynman got to be played by what's his name, who was in the Queen movie. But he had such a bit part in the Feynman was 20.
Yeah, very young. This is a brutal level.
Yeah.
Oof. Man, that's fun. But going back to Abbott Elementary, so that's I mean, King Willie just said, I teach middle school. That you are a hero. Like, yeah, you get somewhere off, but there's
you are definitely a hero. Middle school is tough. That is...
It's so exhausting. Like, sure, I have to scrounge for money for grants every 3 years, but I also don't have to do 8 hours of just kids, you know?
Well, we tell our scientists at the MabLAB if they're interested in outreach, like, you know, you can pick the age group because some folks, like, they love working with middle schoolers. Like, that's the age they want to work with. Some people are like, I don't want to work with anyone under, like, 17, you know? Some people are like, I don't want to talk to people, but I will definitely, you know, write, like, do, like, video recordings and things like that. So it takes people of all kinds to educate in this world.
Oh, nice.
So that's awesome. A middle school teacher.
Yeah. No, for me, I exclusively do adults. Like, people see this outreach and they're like, oh, Ken, do you want to come work with middle? No. I got an 8-year-old. I still don't want to do it. I have a demographic. I know what that demographic is. High schoolers I'll do, but yeah. But younger than that, like, I went back to my high school and gave talks to the chemistry class. And it's one class after another, and you don't stop, and it's every day, and like, oh my God. King Willie, shout out to you and your endeavors. Teachers are not paid enough to do what they do.
They are not.
It's brutal. We don't respect it enough, and it sucks that way. But so it goes. All right. King Willie, I remember a meme when Oppenheimer and Barbie came out. It was an image of Oppenheimer Einstein from the movie with Ken in bright pastel suit photoshopped in. Oppenheimer was labeled as high school teacher, Ken as elementary, and Einstein was middle school. Interesting. All right.
I think what Oppenheimer tells us too, like, that I don't think folks appreciate is, like, we've talked a little bit about funding, but our funding comes from taxpayer dollars. Like, it's not to the level, like, I'm not doing anything to the level of the atomic bomb or those kinds of things. But, you know, part of this outreach and a lot of our scientists' outreach is communicating with the public what we do. And so that they realize that their money is going to the right place.
Yeah, what's underappreciated is most of that World War II outcomes, that's what led to things like the National Science Foundation.
Yes.
Right? Funding agencies, their origin, well, modern origin is in that area. Interestingly, I learned from a book called Longitude that the original science funding agency was to figure out how to solve the longitude problem, which basically came down to you need to know the time at origin and you need to know the time that you are now.
Yeah.
And if you know the difference, you know where you are longitudinally. And that was a huge problem that required a solution. And so they would actually fund people to come up with clocks or astronomy or whatever they proposed.
Yeah.
That was like the original funding agency, which is cool.
Yeah. Kind of like, it like reminds me of NIST, the National Institute of Standards. And
yeah. Yep. Yeah. That was a fun read.
I don't think I've ever been to this level. I'm realizing as I'm playing it. So.
This is it. So I'm curious where you are in the lore, because this is like Fantasyland. What is going on here?
I think it's somewhere in Asia is what I'm getting from this. I think that's bamboo.
All right.
In 2-bit.
And that is a... Does anyone know? King Willie, you got any advice on this one? Because that is something. Oh, man. I do like the biopics that make people, right?
Yeah.
Not that like whitewash it or keep it clean. Like the a lot of complaints about the Freddie Mercury biopic, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't honest necessarily. It didn't show all the grime because the band wanted to protect their image.
Yeah.
But, yeah. One of my favorites though is the Imitation Game.
With
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes.
Yep. Playing Alan Turing.
Yes.
Yep.
Because, you know, I didn't know, my partner is into computer science and he knew everything about Alan Turing and I didn't, you know, that he just didn't make it into the lore that I was familiar with.
Yeah. Which is crazy, right?
Yes.
I invented the computer.
And I think now that probably conversation comes up a lot more, because
they come back. What the hell?
I know, that's what I was like, that's why I'm like, I have not done this one before. With AI, like, so, and people talking about AI and ChatGPT, like understanding all of those pieces of it, I think Turing and his ideas are making a comeback. But then to know his background as like a gay man, I did enjoy the Imitation Game.
Yeah, now we have the Turing test.
Yeah.
Do machines think? Yeah, but one of those, especially World War II and the Manhattan Project, and I bring this up in my class because we don't have philosophy of science classes, right? We don't have ethics classes, so I incorporate them into my group theory and inorganic spectroscopy class because I can.
Yeah.
Because why not? I teach grad courses. But one of the things I like to ask students is, if the government comes to you and writes you a blank check to solve the biggest physics and engineering problem in human history, do you say yes? Well, the answer is yes, right? Because I would. If it told you it was going to vaporize 300,000 Japanese in an instant, would you still do it?
Yeah.
That's literally what they wrestle with.
Yeah.
And even like on a much less direct level, like I've had funding from Department of Defense, right? And it's for making, better solar cells or photo detectors and things like that. But you have to ask yourself morally, if I make an infrared screen that can allow somebody to kill somebody else, is that morally reprehensible? Or is that acceptable because the byproduct of it is a better solar cell? And
Right.
It's if you're not asking those questions, you're not thinking about science beyond the science itself.
Absolutely. Like the moral and ethical. I loved my bioethics course from college. And most recently, my course that I taught this fall, it was my first time teaching it. And I was looking through the reading materials, and one of the readings that I used, it was talking about the discussion of it was like theories of learning, but this one was critically analyzing theories of learning, and it was particularly like, when you feel like an outsider. But the example was TAs that were using a drone attack for an engineering class to talk about ethics, and it was a predominantly American students in the class, and there was one student, I think from Jordan, or Egypt or like a country, and he was vehemently like, he's like, it doesn't matter, like if it saves like if it ends like a war or saves more people, like the lives that you've taken are not worth that. And it's because he had experienced that, and his family had experienced it, whereas the Americans hadn't, because that's what drones do too. It takes you out of the impact of it. And so like that, and we used it in my class just to talk about, but it was like a real kind of extreme of like what we deal with. But I think the ethical considerations are so important for us to talk about.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I asked that of my graduate class, I literally survey, like, raise your hand if you'd still work on it, if you knew that was going to happen. And there's a stark divide between domestic and international students. Yeah. And it's, we've been propagandized in the U.S. enough that, ends justifies the means. Yeah. So, I can definitely see that. And this level is not messing around. I guess that's why it's 4-1. We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the only places you get to play video games, drink alcohol, and talk about the ethics of warfare and science. Because, wow, we go there. You talked about Marty, right? The Swan Bro, like, he studies, like, suicide and things like that, and we talk about that while playing video games. Yeah. It is an experience, to say the least. But nonetheless, it's fun to go down these rabbit holes. King Willie's follow-up on the conversation. We got a rocket to get to the moon because somebody wanted it to get to Moscow. If you can get it to the moon, you can get it anywhere, right? Jeez, that's a way to frame it. King Willie, do you talk about ethics and science and teaching, like, intermediate or high school? I mean, that's where the conversations should start, but it just doesn't. So you mentioned standardized testing earlier. Have you done, like, the Florida Department of Education standardized testing assessments or feedback or anything like that?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
No, because one of the reasons why I left teaching, it was when No Child Left Behind came out, and it was going to really focus on standardized teaching and or standardized testing, and I was really not a fan.
Yeah.
And I mean, now it seems so funny to even like mention that, because it's like you don't even have a choice.
Yeah.
So I have not. There has been research. So one of the programs we have at the MabLAB is a research experience for teachers. We do it for undergraduates. They come for 10 weeks, and they get to work with a scientist on a research project. And then we also have it for teachers. And it used to be 6 weeks where they would come and live in the dorms and work with a scientist, but we realized 6 weeks wasn't long enough. And they're adults, so staying in the dorms. I'm sorry, residence hall. I know they're not dorms anymore. I just aged myself. But so now we have them come for a week, tour the MabLAB, meet the scientists, learn about stuff, and then they can do. They have a lesson plan that they want to improve, and the scientist helps them with the science part of that lesson. Oh my gosh, like there's 3 of them. Oh my gosh.
You got this.
And so, but there has been, not from my RET program, or from the MabLAB RET program, but there has been research by a colleague of ours who runs an RET program at Columbia University, and he looked at the standardized test scores of the teachers in his RET program. And there was a statistically significant difference in the teachers that participate in the RET program and their students' performance on tests. But his program was really intensive. You came for 2 summers, and you worked with the scientists. So you actually got to do like a full-on research project and publish and all of those. So that's, time-wise, that's a lot different than most RET programs. So like it's the cost benefit. So is that cost, the cost is like this teacher's time focusing on those teachers. So it's like 10 teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, does that, for 10 teachers to improve standardized test scores, is there a better way? We talk about dosage in education. Like, is there a dosage, like the perfect dosage, so it doesn't take that much of the teacher's time, it doesn't take that much of the scientist's time, and still has the impact on the students. But yeah, I always feel like quantitative research is incredibly important, and I totally value it, but I always feel like there's a story to those data points. And that's always fair. Been my interest.
No, that's fair. It's
I didn't know what that did. Yeah, I was like, oh, now I know.
Yep. Physics. No, so in those studies, is that comparing their before performance to after? Okay, yeah. So there was,
Yeah.
So it wasn't a correlation versus causation question. It was, yeah. That's fun. Oh, and King Willie said, yes, they do talk about ethics and science when doing science projects, which is fun.
Well, and now I think there's even an interesting link that you can have, because you can talk about the scientists that have misrepresented their data, which is something that, I think students can understand when you talk about like cheating and what that means. And that to me is just a fascinating, like trying to understand that, the falsification of data. And I mean, oftentimes, I mean, careers are ruined, but it's not necessarily the scientist, because usually it's the graduate student that comes, that kind of breaks the silence and says, this is what happens. And, some of the stories that have gone on for 10 years that are coming out now, those graduate students like couldn't get jobs because, people thought they were making things up. And that's heartbreaking too, to hear about. And part of me is like I'm just trying to understand like why you would lie or like kind of manipulate the data knowing that someone would find out. And this is why data sharing is so important. Open science, all of those pieces. But that to me, I just try to like to figure out like what would motivate someone to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you feel the pressures. I mean, especially the tenure process, right? Like publish or perish is a real thing.
Yeah.
You need the papers to get the grants. You need the results. Sometimes people make them up.
Yeah.
That's intense. And so 4-2, you have 2 levels left.
Okay.
And they're escalating in difficulty.
Yes.
There's no question. They're not messing around.
This is still further than I've been. Still already a highlight of 2024 in my Game Boy play.
All right, so we went through movies you think got it right, or at least portrayed it in a way that you enjoyed it and it was believable. Which ones get it wrong?
Oh. Do we have any recommendations from the audience? Because I think starting to talk about, like, hearing examples will get me on a rant, but I can't think of anything right now.
So on the education front, the ones we've typically talked about are the, like, white savior intervention ones, right? The Dangerous Minds, the Freedom Riders. On the science front, anything from Fast and the Furious, right, where the physics is broken, to, man, Moonfall was another fun one. That was just, none of that makes sense.
Let me.
Interestingly, Big Bang Theory gets both accolades and abomination.
I would think like Big Bang Theory was a good one to talk about when they end up having to do military research and they get and Sheldon gets kicked off the project.
Like, you get some of the science right. They had a science consultant on him, but I saw this really good critique on YouTube about, I don't know if you've heard of this terminology, adorkable misogyny, where it's somehow like, because you're an autistic nerd, it's okay for you to be sexist, right? Because that is what Sheldon is.
Yes.
He will belittle, oh, you're good at science, but you're a female.
Yeah.
It's blowing my mind.
But so I refused to watch Big Bang Theory for a long time because I was like, I live this. This is like the people that I'm working with all the time. And you know what? I kind of, they were able to show Sheldon in a way. I've had people say like women don't belong in science like in the last decade to me, and they're not on the spectrum. So to me, it's like, the way that they explain that, and I think that they were showing an accurate portrayal of how people talk in science still, and young people, because I think the assumption is too that this is just kind of an outdated mode, that it's just, people that are in their 80s in the department, but there are a lot of assumptions. Like, even when I talk about the decline of girls' interest in science declines. And there's there's conversations of like, oh, well, I don't know if you remember this, but Larry Summers was the president of Harvard. And he got in a lot of trouble for saying like women just aren't interested in the sciences. And that's why there aren't as many of them. And, at a decision point, they're just as interested. And you can look at, performance on like physics, AP tests, and men and women score the same. So the level of interest to me is important, because like, what is it about it that's making it less interesting? And I think, if you watch Big Bang Theory as a woman, you're probably not going into physics. Like, I don't know that it helped recruit women in physics. But I think that is something that they can encounter. And for a while, I hear this from folks that do outreach and education, like, what if we're trying to recruit women into a field where they're going to experience the adorkable misogyny? And there's research that says that it's better to prepare them, specifically on high school students. And so it gave, the assignment was to give high school students, this is Zara Hazari out of FIU, give high school students research like a woman in science, and, all of the trials and tribulations with that. And they ended up feeling, by knowing about what to expect, they felt more empowered, like to kind of know that it wasn't going to be all rainbows and sunshine. But it's still heartbreaking to think about what folks are getting into.
This level,
I know,
I'm like letting you go fast. It's just like,
it's like I gotta time it because I'm not like big. I have no. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
It's fine. Infinite lives. We're beating this. Like, if you're playing this for the next 2 hours, we're beating it. We've committed to this role. Oh man. Trying to think of other examples. And there's not a lot of science education related things.
No.
I mean, you can go back to things like Revenge of the Nerds, but it's problematic for many reasons.
Yes. I'm thinking there was a show in the early aughts called Boston Public, and it was when I was teaching, and that one was so true to form that it made me depressed because like one of the teachers couldn't afford to own a home, and that's like where I was. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. This is like too much.
I heard that described as you take 5 years worth of drama in any given school and squeeze it down to an episode. Yeah. That's what they did. They just force fed you the worst aspects of it.
Yeah, it was like horrifying.
But that was I liked that one. I remember watching that one. It's just a fun drama is not how I describe it.
Right. Oh my gosh, I got past something.
Oh, the fireballs.
Yeah, I was just like trying to get past like the starting point again. There we go.
Oh, gave you his checkpoint. That's nice. This game's pretty generous with the
Wow, that just spins.
Yeah, it's like a fire bar from if you
okay.
remember original Mario.
Okay. Alright. Let's time this. Oops.
Down the drink. Cheers to that. All right, so you're in the department. It's Anne's College of Education now. Is that the?
Yeah, we just got a really big donation, and she was a school teacher. Anne was like a school teacher who.
I was going to say, where'd the donation?
And so
sweet teaching dollars.
Yeah, sweet teaching dollars. I know we were just saying like I couldn't afford a house, but Anne did better with her money than I did. But it's really it's like one of the largest donations for FSU.
Yeah.
But the college is also interesting because it used to be the separate College of Education, and there was a College of Health and Human Sciences, and they combined about a year ago. And that's also like I think interesting because like there's a lot of connections with education, and I think the health and human sciences, and especially more today. Sorry, I'm just like waiting for like the right time to jump. Especially now, like when you think about mental health.
On top of it.
Okay.
I think you're okay if you stand on top.
With mental health, we talked about that, and I think, understanding that. Let's see.
Yeah, safe spots. Oh, get it. Oh, that doesn't help. You're too fast. It's like, it's a star. You run at ultra fast speed. Also, here's a platform. Have fun. Cuddle Puppy, welcome back. Good to see you. We are celebrating and relaxing after grades are submitted. Semester is over as of Tuesday at 4 p.m. Oh, man. I'm in charge of the admissions committee, so we're doing all our admissions and phone calls right now.
Oh, so, yeah,
we try to reach out to students before the Christmas break.
Yeah.
It's intellectual warfare is what it is.
Well, it's an important time because they're making decisions like this early.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like, let's get their mindset. Go home and tell grandma FSU is great. You can't turn back then, right? At least that's how I rationalize it. We typically get our decisions out before most programs. So I'm hoping. I also get to call the students, which is fun.
Yeah.
They're shocked. I've had ones break into tears. They're just, thank you so much.
Well, you probably remember that too as an athlete, like getting calls from coaches and what that was like.
Yeah. Yeah, grad school, I never got a phone call from anyone. So I'm paying it. I'm doing the opposite. I'm calling everyone that we admit to the program because that's a big moment. Like, some of these students, like, they're going to get in several programs. Cuddle Puppy will call me. Thank you. You're in. Thank you so much. With that said, like, the job interview process, especially academia, is so brutal that first phone call I got was life-changing, right?
Yeah. I'm chairing a search committee, so that's what I've been doing this week. And wow, it's pretty time intensive for everyone involved.
Yep. And it's a huge decision, right?
Yeah.
It's a lifetime appointment, potentially. And yeah, you kind of roll the dice because you don't really know.
No.
That's brutal. Are you guys doing a specific flavor of search?
So it's we had put it out as an assistant associate, but it could be an assistant.
Just broadly defined.
Just broadly defined,
Wow.
And science education.
And
we connected it to health broadly, and it's really like the definition that the applicants kind of come up with how to connect it to health, mainly because FSU's got like the FSU Health Initiative. We're in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, and there's opportunities for interdisciplinary work, like maybe some opportunities. We haven't necessarily like gotten super involved in NIH funding in the college, but there might be some opportunities for that with education.
Yeah, I don't know enough of the science education people, I'm sad to say.
I'll give you some names.
Might as well. So I do my amateur science education. So I'm published in Journal of Chem Ed several times, but it's mostly test analysis.
Yeah.
So I'll do like Roche modeling of Gen Chem exam outcomes. And then I compared in-person versus online outcomes, and they were the same, which was surprising.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So that made it so I could administer it online, but I still do in person typically. But then our recent one was detecting ChatGPT usage on multiple choice exams, which is weird, right?
Yeah.
Single letter answers. But I don't know if you're familiar with Roche analysis, right? It fits student ability versus difficulty.
Okay.
Right? And so there's not all questions are equal, despite the points being equal. And so you look at easy questions, and sometimes ChatGPT gets it wrong. And sometimes it gets hard questions right. So it doesn't look like a student when you look at all the data.
Right.
And that's how you can detect it.
Oh,
Would I ever do this on an actual assessment? No, it's not worth the time and effort. But it was a curious exercise. And my favorite one now, though, that we're doing is, so I have like 6 years worth of test data, right? So I have student outcomes plus ChatGPT outcomes on all these questions. And so what we did is we basically listed every question characteristic we could, right? Does it have 2 layers? How many options? What's the word count? Does it contain italics, underline? Where does it fall in Bloom's taxonomy and all the knowledge levels? And then we basically did this polynomial fitting saying which one of these parameters makes ChatGPT better than students and which ones are students better than ChatGPT.
Oh.
And so what's interesting is like ChatGPT is way better if it contains the word not. So like which of the following is not X? ChatGPT is way better at that than students.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just know that's what the data suggests.
Oh.
And stupid little things like that are just blowing my mind.
Huh.
So yeah, I love to talk to people that are actually good at this because I'm just an amateur doing it for fun. But
I think the not is tricky. Like that is the type of question you ask to like trick humans.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
ChatGPT would it's interesting that they would get that.
The language, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's certain knowledge levels and a lot of surprising results in it. But ChatGPT, if there's an equation, it doesn't do well with it. Any calculations, it doesn't. Brutal.
There's like no one to go there.
Ken, I'm happy to welcome you into USC's PhD program, but I also need to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Thank you, Cuddle Puppy. That's what's funny. So I'm calling up these grad students to admit them to grad school.
They're not answering.
They aren't. I have to call them 3 or 4 times. Like I refuse to leave a message, but I'll keep trying until they block my number. But especially the students that are in Florida.
Yeah.
They see a Florida number and they want to ignore it. But if you're from somewhere else, I usually get a response.
That's funny.
Like, who else is calling from Florida? It has to be FSU. So Cuddle Puppy, thank you. Oh, man. All right. The TV show. Oh, we talked about scientific figures in terms of the movies, but this is a fun one. I don't remember what the program is called, but there's like first generation college students. They have to go out and interview faculty, just ask them a bunch of questions and say, what was your experience, learn about how they got to where they are. Basically our opening conversation. But one of the questions one of the students asked me, and I really loved it, it was because they knew I did Ask a Scientist Gaming. They asked me, if you could have any guest living or dead on Ask a Scientist Gaming, who would it be?
Oh, that's fun.
So who is your guest?
Ooh.
And we could discuss multiple guests for multiple reasons, but yeah, who would you like to, 1, see play video games, 2, drink, and 3, ask questions of? Who?
So I don't know if she would play video games, but Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, interesting. That's fun.
I think she would drink.
Yeah, if any of the rumors are true about the Roosevelts, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
She just seems like a super interesting woman, and what she went through, like just like living so much later, she continued to do work for the U.S. So she would be interesting.
Yeah.
Not a scientist, but she didn't have the opportunity to be one.
Follow up, what video game do you think she would play?
I don't know enough video games because I bet you there's like some...
Well, we could do category like this is just a 2D side scroller. Maybe she's a first person shooter, maybe a real-time strategy, puzzle game.
Puzzle game.
Yeah.
I feel like
maybe some Tetris.
Yeah, she probably did like puzzles.
Yeah. Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah, I kind of regret Ask a Scientist Gaming as our name because we've had law and econ and non-traditional, but I'm going to say everyone applies scientific method whether they formalize it or not.
Absolutely.
Any predictive capacity is science. So Eleanor Roosevelt counts.
Let's see for her.
Yeah, we're debating. So I think March 19th, we're going to have our 100th stream. So our 100th guest on. We're debating who that should be. Like, should we invite the president of FSU? I don't think he'd do it because it's too open of a venue.
It is.
It'd be risky for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think has he seen it? Do you know if he's seen it?
I don't know. But he's a scientist. I mean, he's a chemist.
And
so.
I mean, I think he really actually would love, like, I don't know if he plays video games, but I could see him just like talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that like his staff would.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I could ask, but I don't want to.
You should.
Right? Because it's
like like you said, like 10%, 30% say no, 10% don't respond at all.
Yeah. What's he say? Also, I don't know if I want the responsibility of moderating that. Right? Because
he'd have other people in the room.
Yeah. But he's very calculated in what he says. Like his State of the Union and Faculty Senate, he's good at his job. So I don't think he'd risk anything. But Misadventures, welcome back. Thank you for joining us in the stream. Our guest today is Roxanne Hughes, who's a expert in science identity, science education, research related to education in STEM. So yeah, if you have any questions, she's happy to answer while playing Super Mario Land.
I think I might be on the last level.
Yeah, this is as far as it's 4 worlds of 3 levels. I mean, what do we do after this? Mario Land 2? Let's go through the journey.
Was there anyone that you've had on that was like a real big gamer?
Oh yeah, we've had several that are like playing Call of Duty and stuff like that, Fortnite.
So are they able to talk at the same time?
Yeah, I'd argue most of those like first-person shooters, because they actually typically chat during games.
Okay,
right?
yeah,
So they'll
yeah.
casually converse with friends, so they're arguably better trained for this.
Yeah.
Rather than these back in the day when we didn't.
Oh, I might be stuck. Oh my gosh.
Maybe that's... No questions. We need some.
When you get to the front of that screen, here's the circle ball again.
I mean, thankfully this game is really generous with its save states. Like,
yes.
Its progression is nice. Except on this level. Okay. it saved a lot. All right. So I watched the speed run of this. I just do that to get familiar with the game because I didn't play this one much. Apparently there's a way you can like stick yourself here, and when you go off screen, it'll jump you to the front of the screen. So they'll actually use that to jump forward. So they can skip through walls and stuff like that.
Oh, that's like smart.
Scientific method applied to video gaming.
Yeah.
All right, we should do one of our predictions. We haven't done any yet, and
Sure.
I apologize because I'm drinking wine and not paying attention. Which one do you want to do? MabLAB with some time in school.
Let's do MabLAB.
Let's do electric bill.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following us, click the follow button. You'll get some standard internet units. Those units can be used to answer science questions that we ask the audience. Predictions on Twitch are typically used for gaming-related things like, will Roxanne beat this level within the next 5 minutes? We won't ask that. Instead, we will ask science questions. She is kind enough to write a bunch of science questions for us, things related to our expertise as well as her experiences. And so we're going to pop up a question. You guys are going to have 2 minutes to answer this question based on your knowledge. Note you are on Ask a Scientist Gaming honor policy, so you cannot use ChatGPT or Google. You have to answer this based on what you know about the world or Roxanne, whatever that has educated you on these questions. But I'm going to pop up this question right now. So the question is, we have the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory at FSU, and it is one of the biggest magnet facilities in the world, has some of the most powerful magnets on Earth, and it also uses a lot of electricity. The question is, in terms of dollars, how much electricity is that? Is the electric bill at the MagLab over $4 million or less than $4 million? Or in this case, it's true or false. Is the electric bill at the MagLab over $4 million, true or false? Anything you want to add to that? Is that
Nope.
captures it?
And think of our magnets are like MRI machines. So how much would MRI machines
running? Man, there's just no, like, imagine you have 10 million fridges. Yeah, calculate your electric bill.
and like 30 MRI machines. Yeah, because we have all
Exactly. Like, how much is it? Yeah. I love the question because this number could be, well, the answer is not $100 a month. So use that as a hint. But yeah, if you haven't done predictions before, at the top of your chat, click that predict button and predict. Electric bill at the MagLab. Is it greater than 4 million? True. It is greater than 4 million. True or false? Nobody's guessing anything. Get your predictions in there. True or false? They're Googling. They're chat GPTing. Think chat knows this answer?
I think they do. I think chat does.
It's probably.
It's easily accessible.
Let's check it out. Chat GPT.
It's like a cloud. This is definitely the last one. I don't know how to get out of it. Any guesses?
Shooting the cloud. Oh, sorry. I was looking up ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I don't have access to current specifics about the electric bill at the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory, so I can't confirm if it's over 4 million. However, considering the immense energy required to power the lab's high-powered magnets, cooling systems, and other research equipment, it's plausible that the cost could be very high.
Wow.
Though I would need to verify the exact figures. That's a candidacy exam bullshitting answer right there. That is pretty amazing. We're gonna count that. All right. So Roxanne, is it greater than 4 million? True or false?
It is true. It is greater than 4 million.
Wow. Congratulations to Misa. A few other people. Congratulations. It is over 4 million a year. That is a hell of an electric bill.
It is. We used to share the electric bill with all of the neighborhood around there, and finally FSU along with the city of Tallahassee gave us our own grid, and we share that with other research buildings in Innovation Park. But it was like a time when in the summer we'd have to we have users come. The MabLAB is funded by the National Science Foundation, and in order to receive that funding, they need to keep it open for scientists. And so folks apply to use the magnets and then come in. But users will get like a week long to use the magnets, and they'll have a night shift and a day shift. And when we had the one grid, we couldn't do day shifts because it was too hot in the summer and it was too much on the electrical grid. So it was just night shifts.
Wow. 4 million in electricity. Yeah, so interestingly, most of that is probably towards cooling, right? Like they're superconducting magnets. Right. You just need to get a current flowing and they're fine.
Right.
But to keep them cold. Misadventures follow. How much power for ChatGPT to be trained to be able to not answer your question? I mean,
that was something I had not really thought about, is like how much electricity ChatGPT uses. And what that does for our electric grid and like climate and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that asking a stupid question.
Just like, if I were a movie character, which character would I be? Based on
Give me a list of names for my nonprofit.
Yeah, exactly.
My electric bill is like...
Man. Is that morally reprehensible? I don't know. So does it do the same pattern every time? Is this?
Well, at some
it's going to come down
the
here.
The cloud is going to get me, but I don't know how to destroy the cloud.
I think you're hitting it. It's making a noise when you hit it.
Yeah.
So I got to assume that's... Does anyone know Super Mario Land? I think it's just shoot it a lot. It's like any other classic Nintendo game. So I think the corner strategy, like there, it's hitting, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe go after
and then
this
when it,
round,
like,
top
yeah,
corner.
Yeah.
Go
I think
up.
it'll give me one more.
Yeah, there you go.
Ugh, I was trying to shoot it.
Like it. We're beating this, though. And by we, I mean you. I'm going to sit here and hang out. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Roxanne, I mean, so you're involved in the, sorry, I don't remember, the Center for Integrated Teaching and Learning, right?
Center for, oh my gosh, now as you're saying it, the Center for Integrating Research and Learning. Research and Learning,
there we go. And so that's a MabLAB, so that's a National Science Foundation, that's part of the MabLAB's...
that is the educational component of the MabLAB. So it's essentially our public affairs team does the open house, because anytime I tell people I oversee education programs at the MabLAB, they say, I love the open house. And I'm like, I volunteer for it, but I don't run it. That is our public affairs director, Kristen Roberts, who's amazing.
That's a shitload of people.
It's a lot. It's getting
10,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 10,000. Like everyone from the MabLAB like volunteers that day. For anyone that's listening that hasn't been to it, it's like a really amazing event. But ours are more of kind of longer term events. So open house gets you really excited about science, and then our programs kind of show you what happens at the MabLAB. So we do field trips for 5th grade and up. We do summer camps for middle schoolers, because that's the age where students really start to lose interest in science. So we want to get them interested before that. We do high school internships where they can work with a scientist. We have the REU program, Research Experience for Undergraduates, and the RET program.
So the REU, is that a separate grant, or that's part of the...
That's all part of the MabLAB's core grant.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. We're going to focus on this.
I know. Sorry, guys.
All right. Now it's coming for you.
Okay, yeah.
So if you go forward, you might be able to completely avoid it. Because does it shoot the birds backwards?
No.
It doesn't. Okay.
It does not.
You can go past it and then go back, presumably. We're going to beat this. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in chat. One of the questions is, what are we drinking tonight? So, Roxanne, what are we drinking tonight?
So I love wine, and so we are drinking a Honig Cab, which is delicious.
That's fair. Any particular reason on this one? This is just one you found you like?
Yeah. So I have some friends, and we do wine tastings every so often. So we bring, we'll pick a Cab or Pinot, and everyone brings a different bottle, and we hide them in brown paper bags, and then we do tastings to see which one we like. And oftentimes my partner and I enjoy finding the cheapest wine that is the highest level. This was not the Honig. We actually picked up a bottle at CVS that did pretty well. It was not top 3, but it was fourth. $15 CVS bottle of wine. Not bad.
Speaking of which, you want more?
I'll have some more, yes.
Let's do it. Yeah, we don't often drink wine on stream. We're beer and mead related heathens. But we'll take wine.
What's been your favorite beer?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't have strong opinions about alcohol or taste, which is why I like this, because I drink what my guest is drinking. It makes me try a lot of different stuff. With that said, I had to force one of my colleagues. Ology makes this cherry cheesecake sour beer.
Oh yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I tried it.
I don't like sours. Oh no.
But it tasted like cherry cheesecake.
Did it?
Which is amazing in
That's
terms
funny.
of infusing flavors and whatnot. So
Fermentation Lounge had a banana bread beer. It was in a bottle at one point,
fun.
and it was really good.
Yeah, not a sour, presumably.
Yeah, no, it was not a sour. I'm kind of glad IPAs are all the rage, because I actually do enjoy IPAs. And we have some really great breweries in town.
Agreed. All right, we should do another prediction, because we're way behind schedule. Which one do you want to do?
Let's do men and women ratio.
All right. Actually, before diving into that, Misadventures has a related question, and I think this will tie in later. Does Dr. Hughes do any work with getting women into STEM fields?
I do.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Yes. Yes, she does.
Should I go into it, or should we ask should I answer the question?
Let's answer the question. Let's dive into this. So yeah, do you work with getting women into STEM fields? Okay, we'll let you fight the boss.
Okay. That is my lifelong passion in terms of getting more women into STEM fields. But it's also, in order to get, we have to kind of make the fields, one, not just women and girls, but for everybody. Students need to know what opportunities there are in STEM, and that there aren't the stereotypical ones that we know, medical doctor, those kinds of things. And that's what, at the MabLAB, our summer camps introduce them. They're specifically MabLAB. When we first started Sci Girls, it was broader, but there weren't any other science camps in town. And now there are so many that it's awesome. The kids could do a science camp all summer. But it introduces them to careers, particularly at the MabLAB. We do most of our scientists are physicists, engineers, chemists, and some biology. But most middle schoolers don't know much about what physics careers there are, so it's kind of cool for them to see that. And then I've had a couple of grants and research projects that specifically look at how do we engage youth in general, and in some cases particularly women, to make STEM relevant. How can role models, so scientists who visit classrooms or do outreach, how can they engage with students in a way where the students feel like they can be part of science? And then how do we engage them in science activities where they feel like they're doing the work of scientists? And that helps them to realize, oh, there's a place for me. I could eventually do this. And they need those opportunities to experience that. That isn't rote work in a textbook. So I think that's probably a good summary.
Fun factoid, it takes 20 shots to kill this boss. I think you're getting it 10 every time.
I feel like...
So that was like 2.
Yeah.
That was like 4. I had to look up a walkthrough on this game to find the number of hits. After you do this round, we'll do another prediction related to the question that was asked. Man, you can see how I had to truncate these down quite a bit for 42 characters. It's pretty unforgiving, the number of spaces. All right, we're going to put up a prediction right now. And the question is, the men to women ratio in physics, engineering, and computer science. Is it 2-to-1 or 4-to-1? Is there any other qualifiers than that? I guess this is professional career physics, engineering, or is this majors? Or...
This is... Oh, what did I write? Yeah, because you do have to get it down really small. I think this is career.
Yes, career-based. So like as professional scientists, those in physics, engineering, and computer science, what is the ratio of men to women? Is it 2 men for every 1 woman or 4 men for every 1 woman? This is physics, engineering, and computer science. So click that predict button, put your prediction in there now. There are right and wrong answers, but they're an imaginary internet points, so you guys have nothing to lose by betting them on this, so you should do it. So, Misa's suggestion, you should head to the right side of the screen when it comes towards the left side, and then go back and keep shooting after 20 hits. You still have a second stage of the fight.
Thank you.
Go back. Oh, corner again. Get out of there.
Ugh. Okay.
Nice. Misa, you play this game? That's awesome. We're beating it, so if we're playing this for the next hour and a half, so be it, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize ahead of time. But we're smashing a bottle of wine. Oh, all right. Ratio of men to women in physics, engineering, and computer science. This is such a discipline-dependent question. I look forward to this discussion. This is the one.
I think his circle gets smaller.
It's probably coming corner.
Yeah.
Oh no, that would have been fine. No, it's fine. We're staying safe. We're staying safe. We got this.
My risk management.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Oh, come on. How many hits is that? Oh. Yes. We got a strategy, ladies and gentlemen. Testable hypothesis.
Did I do it?
You did. I think there's one more boss, though.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
I think your strategy's working. Mash that button. Stand in the corner. I don't think you're getting any hits, but who cares? You're alive.
Man.
Oh God, is your hand hurting yet?
Yes.
This is like an hour and a half of mashing. So do you have to refight the first boss? Oh my God. Oh, wow.
I'm just gonna...
All right, Roxanne, what's the ratio? 2-to-1 or 4-to-1?
It is 4-to-1.
4-to-1 in physics, engineering, and computer science.
So these are the fields that have the least representation of women. So you might be familiar, like, biology is almost 1-to-1. Chemistry is really getting close. There's multiple reasons for it, but there's also kind of like the picture of who belongs in those fields. So typically physics has like the Einstein stereotype, engineering, and so as folks get into these, department. So that 4-to-1 ratio starts in undergraduate. So a woman who enters, let's say, computer science might enter as the only woman, one of 3 women in her computer science class in undergrad. And as you go higher up, there's fewer women in those classes. So they have to be okay with being the only one. One of the things that comes up with that is that you're both highly visible and yet invisible. So as like the only woman, you're representing, you feel this sense of, I have to represent all women. And so any mistake in the class feels hyper visible. And there's been research on ways to address this. So Harvey Mudd is a college in California, and it's mainly focused on engineering and computer science. And they realized that they had like no women, every student had to take the introductory computer science, and women were not doing well, and they refused to like major in computer science after it. They would go into other majors. And so all they did was shift. They made 3 levels of classes, and instead of calling them like levels, they gave them colors. So like gold, blue, and silver, or something like that. And one was the more advanced class, one was middle, and one was intro. And they actually ended up having like a statistically significant increase in the number of women choosing to major or minor in computer science. And the issue that they realized is that women who had no experience with computer science or computer games, they'd be in a class and there'd be men in it talking about computers. Like they had so much experience tinkering with computers, playing with computers. And they might have been the one lone person that had that, but because they were so vocal, the women felt like they did not have that experience and therefore did not belong and weren't going to be successful. And by putting them with folks at the same level of experience, that changed the whole thing. So like those are examples. Physics has its own unique culture. But there was a study in, I think it was published in PNAS, but it interviewed faculty in multiple disciplines across the US and asked them if they think that in order to be successful in their field, if people had to have an innate ability, like essentially born with that skill. And then they also asked them how much help they would give to like male or female students. And they looked at the demographics of their department. And so the 2 highest fields to say that you needed an innate ability were philosophy and physics. And they have some of the lowest representation of women. So there's also that aspect of who is considered having people in the department who just believe you don't belong innately. Like you're just going to have to overcome so much. And so that could be part of it, but there's, obviously there's multiple reasons for all of these things. But those are some of the 2 studies that I like to highlight.
Matt isn't a Robert. That cloud is a DVD logo hitting the corner of the screen. Matt, I'm old enough to get that reference.
My hand wouldn't hurt as much if it were just that, though. All right.
Also, you get through that and figure out a strategy for this guy. I don't know.
I'm just getting like hundreds. But when you break that, it turns into multiple ones.
I think it does, even if you don't hit it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're getting hits on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to game through this one probably. Are you ready for this? We can put on star power if you get sick of it, but for now, DVD logo. I like it. All right, so congratulations, anyone that said, well, congratulations. I don't know if it's uplifting adventures. Anyone that said men to women ratio in physics, engineering, computer science is 4-to-1. Congratulations. It's better than it once was. Yeah, there's this paper by William Shockley. I talk to my incoming grad students. I give a talk about research productivity and make it very clear that it's at this level, it has very little to do with like inherent intelligence, right, or IQ, and there's no correlation between performance. Above an IQ of 130, you're no more likely to get a Nobel Prize than if you're 180.
Right.
And it's a lot of luck and timing and just time spent, right? Just putting in the work, rolling the dice a billion times till you get the right roll. And so one of the things I cite in that is there's a paper by William Shockley that goes into, you know, productivity, talking about number of papers, and there's a log normal scale because it's not linear. But one of the graphs in that paper, it's from 1956 or something like that, is number of publications versus men. So it's a histogram of men versus publications. And so I have to give this qualifier every time I give the talk, like, yeah, Los Alamos National Lab in the 1950s, men was the metric. But that still holds true today. But yeah, it's literally a graph called men. So the ratio used to be infinity to 0. So we're doing better.
Yeah. There's a funny anecdote I remember about Oppenheimer. When it was being filmed, they used staff scientists from Los Alamos to film it. They filmed it out there, and one of the scientists who got to be in the movie, his wife was also asked, like his wife.
Oh no!
I know.
The last bird. The last bird.
His wife was invited too, and but she was gonna have to be like a wife in it and not a scientist. And she was like, no, I won't do it. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much. That is what that movie got wrong. In the scene where there's scientists, like in the room, there are some women, and there were no women in that room.
That's intense. I'm sure that's partially science, but also the like military chauvinism, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that decision making. But to be in a movie like that.
I know.
A little integrity.
I was like, wow, that is some major integrity.
Would you have said yes?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I'll be a janitor at Los Alamos.
I like have seen myself with Zoom on camera, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want that. Like right now, I can't see myself because I'm playing. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome.
I didn't move fast enough.
All right. Matt and Robert, I feel like curiosity might be inherent, but how you focus it is up to life experience.
Yeah, I think everyone is born curious. Like, you know, babies are curious, little kids are curious, and I think that curiosity can be you know, watered and fed in a way that it can really thrive, or it can just be cut off right at the root. And that could be like stop asking questions. You know, that could come from one of the things that I also look at is the role of, I call them socializers. So it's not just teachers, but parents, family members, teacher, like anyone else that's kind of in children's lives that can reinforce their curiosity, their interests, their skill level, their sense of their ability to succeed in those. I moved with them. So STEM identity is what I study, and the components of STEM identity that I use are individuals need to develop competence in their given STEM field. They need to perform that competence and be recognized by knowledgeable experts or others, and that's where socializers come in. And they need to feel like they belong. So you can also look at it as they have to develop interest, and in order to develop interest, the science has to be relevant, connected to them in their lives. So it's complex, and it's not, I like to tell people it's not like one make or break, but it's a series of, so like one negative comment might not be the make or break, or good for a child that, depending on who told them that, you know. So, or it could just be a multiple examples along their trajectory. So yeah, curiosity is tough, and that's also why I like to study. Part of my research is on informal STEM education programs. So those would be like summer camps. It's also citizen science. stuff outside of the classroom, because students can have baggage with the classroom and what that does, and who belongs, who's allowed to answer science questions in those classrooms, whereas at a museum or something, you have more agency, and it might just be of more interest.
So I looked up the tutorial on this.
Oh yeah, so for the next boss, what happens?
It basically says stay on the left side of the screen and just stay in between, focus on staying in between the bubbles. Like, so the advice is mash the button, firing.
That's what I was doing.
Don't look at the boss at all, just look at where those three things go and stay between them.
Okay.
And that's the advice. Because it'll stay on the right side of the screen, it won't come towards you.
Okay.
So we'll see how this goes. Man, I don't know if you've seen many speedruns, but how they just glitch the hell out of the game to beat it. I'm genuinely curious how they beat these boss, because they probably take 3 seconds. They're down. Ooh, that was a nice hit.
I didn't move in time. The wine's slowing down my gameplay.
I've always argued that alcohol was a performance-enhancing drug for video games. Takes away the stress. I guess to a certain threshold.
Yeah.
But yeah. Bullet hell tactic is just stare at your guy and use your peripheral to avoid the bullets. Interesting. Got that one.
And what got you interested in grad school?
It's kind of an accident. So I fell in love with chemistry during organic chemistry. That was my major turning point. Mm-hmm. But it was one of my professors was like, "Oh, you're interested in chemistry? Let's see if there's any RU opportunities." I snuck into an RU, and it was actually a crazy RU program, and I didn't realize it at the time. But they got their funding late, so they still had openings when I was applying in like April, which is way late on most RU programs. But it was an amazing program. It was in solid-state chemistry. But what they did that was unique, it wasn't just one university. It was a collective doing just solid-state chemistry.
Right.
And so what happened was I got into this, flew to Clemson University, where they hosted all 10 of the students for a week. And we did like solid-state chemistry classes. Then they flew us out to our respective universities.
Yeah.
So I went to Notre Dame for the summer making metal organic frameworks. And then I flew back for the last week where we did a poster presentation and an oral presentation on our science.
Yeah.
And so that was like my first time getting on an airplane.
Wow.
It's like I grew up like poor, like poverty trailer house poor. And so they're like, we'll pay for your flight. Like, all right, let's do this. And so, yeah, that was where I first learned about grad school. Now you get paid to go to grad school.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for it. So yeah, move up and down, just avoid the center one, and just like stay above the center one.
Oof.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Burnt.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Yeah, I might need it.
How many more tries do you want? Let's put a number on it.
I'll do 2 more.
2 more real tries.
2 more real tries.
2 more past the cloud guy. I don't know if star power works with the ship. We're gonna find out. Yeah,
so it was an RU. That's so cool.
Yeah, that changed everything because I learned, you could get paid to do this.
Yeah.
You don't have to go in debt going into professional school.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Medical school, you pay. You have to pay, whereas graduate school for STEM, they pay you.
For me, yeah, that was like, growing up in poverty, that's like... Whoop. That was cozy. That was a good decision, though. But yeah, and also our chemistry department has an RU program, and I'm happy to be involved, because I'm really looking for those diamonds in the rough. Like, we're not going to get the 4.0s from MIT to come to FSU, nor would I necessarily want them. I want to find the kid from a PUI that doesn't even know you get paid for grad school, that's going to work their ass off. That's what I go for.
1.
Alright, so move up. Get out of the way of it.
Sped up!
Yeah. That's brutal. Alright, that's one try. We're gonna do one more. Oh, misadventures. Are dropping some bombs here. Quote, hey, yeah, I guess we should have more women engineers. Oh, why am I still in the office after 5? Oh, yeah, I always work 60 plus hours a week. Family, dinner. Oh, my wife takes care of that. But anyway, not sure why we don't have more women here. They must not be interested. White males in aerospace up and down the chain. Oof. Man, that is a brutal truth of grad school, though. Like, time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is not your friend in grad school. Flies by. That drives me nuts. Oh, that and we have no actual dedicated paternity leave in the United States.
Or childcare.
Or
like
childcare.
Affordable childcare.
Yeah. What's your bet? Does star power work on the bosses?
I don't know. I've never used star power. I was excited when I got this cloud, not realizing this is when I would have thrown the Game Boy across.
Yeah, exactly. You get 3 likes to do this. Sorry. Oh, man. Rage is real. Video game rage. Uchi rage. Misadventures in Astros. So yeah, maybe go up a little bit now.
I don't know. I think just staying here is the longest I've lasted. I don't shoot him at all, but...
Because I don't think any of them get through.
No.
So you have to be off axis.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's see if this works. You're going to lose control. I apologize.
It's okay.
Alright. So you should have star power right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you could try this legit, or you could see if running into them... Nope, that's it. You can avoid bullets, or just run into them with star power. Alright. This one...
I've already gotten the cloud. I now need to figure out this.
Yeah.
Okay. Slightly
so I think moving it just up a little bit.
Okay.
Get out of the way of the center ball.
Oh, I'm getting hit. Wow, he's...
Oh, that's a pattern.
Oh, wow, he's fast too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was total cheating. I don't know how anyone wins that.
We're not judging. All right.
Wow.
Oh, it's Daisy.
Yeah.
It's not even Princess Peach. This game's a ripoff. Well, congratulations. Longtime nemesis defeated. I mean, you made it all the way to the end with legit gameplay.
Way further than I have ever before. So,
Yeah.
Oh, they get into a spaceship.
It's Mario lore. I did not know this. Well, cheers. You did it.
Cheers.
You did a childhood nemesis. Sure, we cheated. But these games don't forgive. They are brutal from start to end. That's the way they go. All right, so what do you want to do next? We got some Tetris. We got some Donkey Kong. Could do Nintendo, Game Boy. What do you want to do?
Let's do Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong for Game Boy. All right, transitioning to Donkey Kong. Change the descriptor.
So it's cool that it was the REU program that got you interested in graduate school. And I think like oftentimes like even internships and opportunities to work with scientists only happen at like the high school level for your really like excellent students.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity to get students who might not be performing at the level like they don't have access to it. And that's because we leave it like we could probably get more people into STEM if we gave them opportunities to work with scientists, but there's a gate, there's of who gets into it. So,
yeah. I mean, even in my case, there was, I grew up in a town of 1,600 people in the middle of Minnesota, right? Like there was nothing,
yeah,
right? Nothing science related other than science classes. So yeah, I don't know how you facilitate that for. I hope the internet has equalized that a little bit.
I wonder about that. Yeah,
videos, right?
Yeah, and there are like really interesting science communicators on YouTube. I had never watched. I never say this right. Versatium. They came to the MabLAB, and their MabLAB video is amazing. So anyone watching, definitely, it's a really fun one. Tim Murphy, our deputy director, is featured in it, and he's just a fun scientist. But those are really cool, like to reach folks. But it's still that opportunity to talk to a real person, I think, is really important. And some of the research that I'm looking at, that there's a study that we've had live role models on a virtual platform, and we're interested, if we get another grant, is to look at the difference between live role models and recorded talks and see if we see any differences in that. My hypothesis would be that live is better, but
what just happened?
I don't know. I pressed something and like jumped up.
That was speed strat. Wow. I'm gonna go back and clip that because that was ridiculous. If anyone else saw that, she just clipped over a barrel into the next level. See something interesting? Clip it. Somebody clip that. That was some expert gameplay. Unintentional, but we'll call it expert. I know somebody doing a related study that's on Twitch.
No way.
Who is that?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about it.
I know the Knowledge Fellowship is doing a survey. They sent out an email. Misadventures, you're probably on that as well. I don't remember what university it was, but they were looking at Twitch and how it's used to communicate science. Because there's something called the Knowledge Fellowship, which is this collective of like science educators on Twitch.
Oh, cool.
And some play video games, other ones just talk science.
Yeah.
It's underappreciated. Twitch is most well known for video games, but it also has, like artists and musicians and, crafts people. There's someone that fixes clocks. There's metallurgy. There's, all sorts of different things. So, yeah, Twitch is a fun community that way. Yeah, Misadventures. If you want to drop a name in chat, we'll be happy to give him a shout out because. I want you to recreate that glitch through the ceiling. That was amazing. I don't know how that happened.
Oop. I thought I was out of the way.
AKA Volcano Doc. Volcano Doc is the streamer doing the study. Volcano Doc. There's a link, anyone that's interested in another streamer. Volcano Doc apparently is doing a study on stream-related things. Volcano Doc is a
I did it
PhD
again.
Volcanology. Just kind of, oh, you did it again?
Yeah, I did it again. I don't know how I did it, but I got onto that second level.
Somebody write this down.
Sorry, I wanted to hear more about the study.
She did a presentation at a conference about doing science outreach on Twitch. Because I just did a survey recently. It was forwarded to us. And let me see if I can find it.
A volcanologist.
Volcanologist.
Cool.
Is it site? So there's the survey coming out of Wichita State University. So presumably that's where Volcano Doc is from. Wichita. Volcanoes. Melissa Scruggs. There's the name. Assistant professor at Wichita State.
That name sounds very familiar.
Volcanology.
That's cool.
Igneous petrology and mineralogy. That's pretty fun. Yeah, there's a link to the LinkedIn profile if you guys are interested. But yeah, I'm glad people are studying this. I don't know how effective Twitch is as a learning medium, but...
Yeah. Well, and it's also learning. I had this conversation at the MabLAB recently, like how we use the term education. Mm-hmm. And often scientists will talk about like, well, I'm going to go educate legislatures on what we do. And I was like, well, is that like, is learning involved in that? You know, like and so like, how do we measure learning in these spaces? And that's why like I like studying STEM identity, because it's also like sense of just like if you feel like you're in a safe space to even like engage, like to even want to learn, as opposed to like focusing on the learning as much, because you need to feel safe and engaged. But I feel like Twitch would be a place where people enter because they have that connection and they do feel safe in it. So what does that open up for them in terms of?
One of the huge advantages I like about Twitch is it's just an anonymous chat.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no pressure, like comment however you want. There's no judgment. You don't have to dress well. You just show up and chat in the box. I like the anonymity behind it. I don't know. But also it's not an easy medium to type in a thoughtful question and engage. So did you play this one on arcade at all? Like
no.
The Upright Arcade?
No. Arcades, that was a place where I did not feel like I belonged.
It's fair. It's a lot of quarters.
But I was of a generation like where they would like your parents would drop you off at the mall and like you'd have, $5 if that to play, but I never played arcade games.
Ah, latchkey kids. The good old days when malls were a thing. And you could just bike around town. Like that was just what you did.
Well, I grew up in a really rural area. So if we biked around town, it was essentially like you'd go to the baseball fields, and there was a country store that sold Swedish fish, and it was also the video store that was within like bike riding distance, but it was in the basement of someone's house. It was called the Brown Bag.
That's awesome.
But I went to school in New Jersey. Like there's rural areas, but then you can drive 20 minutes and it's congested. And so, if my parents were going to take us to the mall, it was like a afternoon trip, and we would get dropped, and I'd have $20, and I could spend the whole day at the mall with $20.
Just want to point out how brutal that death animation is.
It really
like, it just
drags on. And
you feel that. That's visceral.
Flattens you out. I don't know.
All right, we should do another prediction update.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do?
Oh, let's do how awesome the MabLAB is for Tallahassee.
All right, we're going to put another prediction up there. If you're not following, click follow. If you are following, use your internet points, gamble on this question, because why not? It's kind of fun. We will see how much you know about the MabLAB and its impact on Tallahassee. So the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory is a federally funded agency. It's like 25% of the material subdivision of the National Science Foundation's budget. They put that money into the National Science Foundation, or put it into the MabLAB to run it as a user facility for users all over the world. But also that facility generates money. And so this question is related to how much money does the facility generate for the town of Tallahassee, or city of Tallahassee. So dollar generation from the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory to Tallahassee. Is it greater than 20 million per year or less than 20 million per year? And so this is compiling like indirect through salaries plus people flying in.
People flying in, all of our users, the open house might even be calculated into that, like people traveling in. So when our users come, they have to stay at hotels, they go out to dinner.
I suppose they have that math, the number of users, the number of nights they stayed, like, and they report this to the NSF then. Huh.
And actually FSU calculates that. This is like a department at FSU, the economic impact reports. They do this for a number of institutes and centers. And it's really fascinating. Because I never think about it, like even when, like I say that, like you never think, like, these are just scientists at your facility. When we're on tour, you'll walk by the magnet cell and there'll be users there and you can ask them what they're doing and they'll tell the tour, and they're actually bringing money into Tallahassee.
No, that's intriguing. I mean, does this guide decision making, or this is just like, here's why we're also useful?
So it's why we're also useful because, so the NSF, or let's say the MabLAB, I'd say, I don't know the exact numbers, but about 50% comes from NSF, 30% comes from the state of Florida, and 20% from individual PI grants. So the state of Florida has supported us, in addition to like FSU, the support that FSU gets from the state of Florida. But most recently, the MabLAB, you know, we're an old building. We've been there since the 90s, and we need, it's not the fun stuff, but the infrastructure stuff. And the state of Florida gave us over like a couple $1 million or something like that. And I don't mean to be flip, but the MabLAB's 5-year grant is $184 million. So when the MabLAB talks about money, it is like the hundreds of millions. But the state of Florida is like helping us. So there's a lot of money. So that economic impact helps the state also realize like the value of having the MabLAB here, because one of the money generators for Florida is visitors.
Fun factoid, the MabLAB used to be located at MIT, but they lost it in a competition in the 90s to Florida State University. And they basically became stagnant and they didn't get renewed. So yeah, that's when Tallahassee hijacked it. Or at least won the...
Our original director, the stories, I never got to meet Jack Crow, but Jack Crow was... the original director of the MabLAB when it came to Tallahassee, and he saw an opportunity because MIT had not been treating their users well. So the internal scientists had been able to do a lot, but they needed, but other folks were not getting that same love. And so Jack Crow talked to politicians in the state of Florida, to FSU, and he had a sense of UF was involved, and he had contacts at Los Alamos. So he saw it as an opportunity. We had an empty building where the MabLAB is. It was an empty office building. And he was like, here's where we could do it. He could foresee the magnet cells being attached to it. And when he brought the NSF down here, the story that I have heard is they were in the hotel, and this is back in the 90s, and he was able to convince the hotel to just play video of the MabLAB, of like the potential MabLAB. And you know, it's the 90s, so it couldn't even have been quality video. Yeah. When you go into a hotel room now and they're like, here's our spa and all this kind of stuff. It was MabLAB. I don't know what that looked like.
Somebody has to have a copy.
I've never seen it, but this is what I hear. And it was really his vision. He was able to convince like the governor, the legislature, NSF. He just seemed like a super savvy politician. And that's how we got it.
Man, bold move. Politically and socially savvy.
Right?
Like, just make it happen. It's underappreciated how much of science is politics related.
It really isn't. Like, talking to people, convincing them of your idea, like convincing someone to give you like hundreds of millions of dollars is pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, that's a skill set. Going back to Oppenheimer. Need to study Ken's impact on gambling degeneracy. These are imaginary points. We're not going to lose family and friends over standard internet units on our stream. All right, Roxanne, what's the answer? Dollar generation for National High Magnetic Field Laboratory. Is it greater than $200 million per year or less than $200 million?
It is greater than $200 million per year.
That is a lot.
The MabLAB, it's like for every dollar spent on the MabLAB, it generates $6.
Wow.
Is another like way, which I think is like an awesome. Is that a bowl of pasta? What is happening there?
I don't know this version of.
Yeah, this is funny. So it's pretty amazing. And some of that investment goes into, so investing into like foundational level science could mean that one of the Danfoss Turbocore is out in the Innovation Park, and it, I should know what they do, but they use magnets to do it. And they came because the Magnet Lab was there. So attracting industry to come here. Innovation Park's an interesting place because it is, if you've ever been to University of Central Florida, they have an Innovation Park, and it's got all kinds of like really cool facilities there and stuff. And so FSU is also hoping like if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to get that now. Like just now, Danfoss Turbocore has been amazing to bring an industry here, and they're building the products that they make and shipping them from there. But also other folks are interested in coming and seeing. We're having a magnetics conference that the city is running in February.
Oh yeah, so, the Mike Shatruck is running that. Yeah. It's hosted in chemistry actually.
Yeah, so it's like there's some really cool opportunities, and you know, it's been called the magnetic capital, but we're starting to really see that come to fruition. And so I often people will talk like, what do you mean magnets? You know, like they're thinking, and I wasn't a huge fan. Magnetics was not anything of interest to me in high school. That was probably the last time I studied it. But our magnets are like MRI machines, and they're used to see, like if you imagine an MRI for your body and that black and white picture that you see of musculature and bone, we do that, but at like the atomic level. In some of our magnets, so we're looking at, we can actually manipulate the spin of the electrons. And so it's testing materials. So that's where we're talking about superconductors, testing those superconductors. But we also have biomedical stuff. And so that'll look at the inside of that is big enough that you can put like a mouse or a finch or those kinds of, or a rat. And so we can actually look at protein folding, cell death, like as it's occurring. So there's some like really cool, but it's all foundational. So when people come for a tour at the MagLab, they're like, well, what have you done that I would know about? And it's hard to say because the fruition of this, it's like graphene. You know, for a decade, people talked about graphene, or more than a decade. You probably know better than I do, Ken. Like for 20 years, graphene was like good, and it's starting to be used more, but that's the kind of stuff that happens at the MagLab, studying those materials, and you know, it might be 20 years before we see the fruition of that in our everyday lives.
But they have a bunch of semiconductor patents, right?
Yes.
The superconducting materials.
Yes.
I think they're actually implemented in MRIs, in NMRs.
Yes.
Like I think it is. Like, people don't take regular MRIs, but if you do have an MRI, chances are it came from a National High Magnetic Field Laboratory product.
That is, so Interstellar is a movie. I know this was a question earlier on, but I thought Interstellar got the scariness of helium. So Interstellar opens and it's like, we're in like backwoods, but it's like the future. And it's like, we can't diagnose because there's no more MRIs. And helium is a fixed resource on our planet, and there really is a fear of helium resources. And I told a tour, Leadership Tallahassee in Tallahassee, they came for a tour, and one of the people that attended, she worked for the Chamber of Commerce, and she's like, ever since your tour, Roxanne, I have not allowed my children to have helium balloons. If it's just one person, because I don't know why we have them either, because it is such an important resource.
It's amazing.
So I ruined her children's birthday parties, but...
Man, the amount of helium that uses, every little bit counts.
That's what I say.
Does it? Like, man, I love, like, I work in alternative energy, right? Like solar cells, and we're going to save the world and whatnot. And people are like, turn off the lights in your house when you leave the room. That is such a negligible amount of electricity. Like, on the spectrum of, like, billionaires flying private jets to and from lunch, like, your light... Leave that on for 100,000 years. That's the equivalent, right?
So I grew up, and my dad would always be like, why are the lights on? You're leaving all of the lights on, I always had to turn the lights off at my house. And when I finally heard that as like a 40-something-year-old adult, I was like, lights on, this doesn't affect the environment.
Was his energy conservation or was it dollar conservation?
It was both.
The electric bill.
It was both. So we grew up. So we had a custom built house when I was like in 3rd grade, and it was solar. It was the whole back side of it was all glass.
Oh wow!
And so it was a solar.
Thermal. Yeah.
And we didn't have to use that much. Our electric bill in the winter wasn't that bad. In the summer, we just kind of closed the blinds. So we grew up in this like beautiful 3-story house. Mm-hmm. So he did have like a conservation thing, but he also did not want to pay for our electric bill.
I mean, when you look at the cost of electricity, it's so negligible for a light bulb. But with that said, something like 30% of the electricity used in the United States is from lighting, but it's typically like street lights,
yeah,
right? And like industrial lighting and things like that. Your house lights, But if everyone does it, and billionaires can still fly their jets, we're fine.
That's weird too, that it just keeps us like peons debating these things and not focused on the real issues.
Exactly. Like, let's blame ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's blame water usage and water bottles. Like, just come on, let's look at this on scale. There's something like in 10 minutes they'll generate more CO2 than we will in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, how much yeah. Anyway.
So what about nuclear energy?
I'm 100% supportive of it.
That's what,
it became the boogeyman because of Chernobyl, because of 3 Mile Island, and it was right. Like, the technology was not developed enough. But at this point, let's do a reflection on this, and it is a very good power source.
Well, I was listening to Science Friday, and they were saying that 3 Mile Island still has a working generator, which one of them's still working, and I had no idea about that. But I was thinking, so the technology is better, because I was like, I would love nuclear energy, but I don't want to live anywhere near it.
I mean, the safeties, the redundancies, it just, the meltdowns that happened, I don't think will happen again, barring some catastrophic thing, but there's so many redundancies in how they've designed this, and we've learned, are there new mistakes? Maybe, but man, it's such a good power source. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And with that said, working in this alternative energy game, a lot of people be like, solar cells are the answer, wind power is the answer, and it's it's going to be a combination of all those things, let's be honest. And if we don't adopt all of them, we're going to be in trouble, because sometimes the sun isn't out, and you can't fly a jet with batteries. It's just physically impossible. So we need to balance our energy sources.
Do you have solar out here?
No.
Because you have so many trees.
Are too high.
Yeah. Tallahassee, it's we have such beautiful trees, but it does make it problematic for solar cells.
Because we did that, when we first got this house, we did that, you can do an overhead GPS mapping to see what the solar efficiency would be, and it's not cost effective.
Yeah.
We don't get enough sunlight. But the hurricanes are taking care of those trees.
I know.
Man, because this is there's a lot of trees in this yard.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw. This was... Yeah, we managed to get a little plot of land with a whole bunch of trees in Capitol Circle, 5 miles from campus, and we're happy with it. But man, every storm, it's which one's going to hit?
Oh yeah, you do worry about it.
Yeah, and you try to preemptively cut them down.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the dollars generated for Tallahassee. That's the directly calculable dollars. The training for students, priceless.
Goodness,
That's how we're going to do that. Like that. But that's something I've wrestled with too. Is like I'm a PI. I'm pursuing my ideas because I'm in love with my own ideas. But ultimately, most of my impact will be on the students I trained. But one of the things I wrestle with, and this goes back to STEM identity and outcomes and learning gains and all that stuff. It's like I can teach a class, and they've done these studies before where if you take the best teacher and the most beloved teacher and the most inspirational teacher versus the most hated teacher, the learning gains, like in terms of test outcomes, is going to be less than 1 standard deviation. Like you just don't. The student population is a certain size, the content is a certain way. You're not going to get that much of a learning gain. But the tangentials that are not assessed in that, like how many of you inspired to do science, right? How many of you inspired to stay in a science major or pick up a science major? That's what I'd really love to see. And I don't know if there's been longitudinal studies on impact on, how a class is taught versus who goes into science majors or not.
So that like, it's a great question, but there are so many variables.
Exactly.
So it's like you'd have to
every teacher, right?
Yeah, and you'd have to have them in like this closed.
Yep.
You'd have to have a randomized sample and a closed system, and so that's what makes education research so difficult. Is you're dealing. It's not a closed system.
Yep.
And sometimes randomized sample would be unethical. Because we've gotten pushback from that. NSF reviews the MabLAB every year, and one of their issues for our education programs is but how do we know that they're making a difference? And they're like, you should really do randomized control, and I'm like, so I don't accept people into the camp and then follow them? They don't get into the camp and then they want to take a survey. Or the longitudinal impact. So we do send a survey every other year to all of our alumni, but it's also I, as a scientist, that to me is not great data, because it could be the MabLAB, but the MabLAB is just one of many things that's going to affect them. And I think that going back to that story, some of the research that I've done is life history analysis, and it'll be about storied identities. So that there's not just one thing, and it's not linear. There's these multiple complex things that have happened that have gotten you where you are in life. And so it could be the REU, and it could be the teacher that got you, and if you wouldn't know about the REU if it hadn't been for that professor.
Yep.
So there are so many things that happen along the way. So what a lot of education research will look at is a specific curriculum, and then they can do a randomized sample with the curriculum. So we'll test this curriculum. Some educators will have the training with the curriculum, some will not. It'll be the same topic, and we'll see what happens with those students. But then the longitudinal data is so muddied at that point that it's hard to say oh, it was this curriculum or this teaching. What we can say generally is making the science relevant to the students is of value. That's how they'll remember it. But that is unique to the students in your class, and it changes. That's why teaching is such an amazing profession that does not get the credit it deserves, because every student, there's a different motivation, different relevance. What's relevant to one student might be different. It could change from year to year. Generationally, it changes. And then we see things like COVID that completely challenges all of us in terms of how people are learning and engaging. So yeah, I don't think that's the issue. I'd say with the longitudinal issue with education research is it's hard to say. And that's what No Child Left Behind was trying to do, was also look at standardized testing over time, and you could see the impact of teachers over time, and they were going to pay those teachers more, to say you're doing a great job. But again, it was really hard, and it takes 12 years. You're talking about following someone from kindergarten.
Yeah.
So that's difficult.
Yeah, Schmonite has a follow-up, but that's just stat. It just takes a handful of students to be influenced to make a huge difference or huge gains. Yeah. No, that's what we convince ourselves. If I inspire one student while teaching this class of 250, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, it's like we'll be getting our teaching evaluations back, and it's like I always focus on the one negative one, and it's like the majority are like, this is great, and it's the one that I'm like, oh, I could have done better.
Oh man, go take a look at my Rate My Professor. They're either 5s or 1s, and there's very little in between. And I accept that reality. Here, I'll put a link for you guys if you want to check it out. What Ken is like as a professor.
That's funny because I was just in Barcelona for Thanksgiving, and we were kind of tickled by the Yelp reviews, because in the US it's either 5 or 1. Like it's either like it was amazing, the best thing ever, or like the worst thing ever. And in Barcelona there's a lot of 2s and 3s. Like there's a lot more like granularity to their ratings.
And so within 3 reviews with 2 days apart, one starts with quality 1, genuinely the worst professor I've ever had. And then one lower, Ken is by far my favorite teacher this semester. And it's like, what do you do with that, right? You guys can take a look at Ken's Rate My Professor. Because I definitely, I don't actually do math or calculations in my chemistry class. It's all concept-based.
Okay.
Relationship between variables.
Yeah.
And some students just hate it.
Yeah.
Because they just want, if P, B, and N are, I want to figure out what T is. Like, I don't do that. I want to know if you understand this or not. So, yeah.
That is an interest. That happens in the K through 12 level too, where it's like as soon as you start to do open-ended questioning and there's no guidance, and it's like, figure it out. Like, what do you need to know to solve it? And students will freak out, and the teachers will get like bad reviews because of it. And but it is like, we know that it's the best way to learn and to demonstrate understanding.
It's definitely a battle. So yeah, go check out those reviews. It's a fun read. I encourage my students to write reviews, so that has pros and cons, but yeah, you'll see it's the Amazon of professor reviews. All right, we're at 10:30. It's probably time. Are you ready for some NARC?
Let me go to the bathroom.
All right. We can take a break so you can prep. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Oh, man. Some of these reviews, I know the students are just having a field day with, like, writing comments, but, man, the worst professor I've ever had. He's my favorite professor I've had so far. This guy's so insanely smart. I think he thinks we get the material, but we don't. Shmona, you're only here for NARC. Not here for the quality Donkey Kong gameplay or the Rate My Professor reviews. Oh, man. It's been a long semester. I'm excited to be done. We submitted grades on Tuesday, so this is a celebratory Ask a Scientist, drink a bottle of wine, and hang out. So thank you all for joining us. Cheers. Hopefully you have a drink in hand celebrating the end of the semester or holiday break coming up quickly. Hopefully in industry you guys get a break as well. But yeah. Yeah, it was a long semester. So I teach Gen Chem 2, which is 250 students. It's the email traffic alone just makes it exhausting. And it's one of those, especially at the end of the semester, it's an emotionally trying time if you actually care about your students, because it's like, I have a C, I really need a B. And I'm like, I can't, subjectively change your grade for no reason at all. It's a very, like, I empathize with your circumstance, but like and I don't say this directly, but this is something I weigh in my brain when they're asking, can you change my grades? Because it's usually like, here's what happened to me this semester. I'm like, how many points is a dead grandma worth, right? How many points is a sick hamster worth? Like, how would I possibly do that? So the only thing I can do is say no and say objectively, here's your grades, right? Like, I can't.
It hits
came
me
into a heartless dialogue.
It hits me hard every time though, like that end of semester and the requests that come in. But yeah,
like, how do you do that in any objective way? So before you press start, I'm gonna get the timer up.
Yeah, so like those are the police. Those two, yes, the red and the blue guy are the police. I'll
give you some lore in a second. So do you want to see the timer or not see the timer?
Oh, what does the timer mean?
That's just how long it takes you to beat the game.
Okay. I don't care.
All right, I'll leave it there on the screen. I will put it up for you guys because you guys all want to see this timer, because this is the highlight of every single one of our streams. Let me get us live split.
I mean, how are the cops going to collect the drugs if they have dual guns? Like they have a gun in each hand.
You are asking me important questions. But before you start this journey, we need to start with some lore. So I have the original cartridge here. The game is NARC. No one had the guts until now. Are you ready? You are Max Force. Your mission: bust Mr. Big, destroys dreaded criminal empire, seize all contraband, stolen money, illegal weapons, use rocket bombs, high-powered machine guns, apprehend all suspects, protect the innocent, punish the guilty, stop at nothing. So you can see car with a license plate, Just Say No.
Okay.
Written and directed by Nancy Reagan. We're winning the war on drugs.
You're kidding. No, was it?
No. But it might as well have been. This is 1980s propaganda at its best. All right, so whenever you're ready, press go, press start.
Okay.
And as soon as you hit the ground running and gain control, I will start the clock, and you will be racing against your colleagues across all disciplines to win the war on drugs.
And then I just jump out at any time.
Yep,
Okay,
and walk right, find doors. No advantage in killing people. You go up and down, it slows you down. Go right. So tapping A is rockets, holding A is bullets, tapping B is jump, holding B is squat. And you are trying to find those doors, go through them, and keep going on the levels while answering science questions.
Okay.
Schmonite, run at the bottom of the screen, shoot Mr. Big in the head. Those are the real instructions. So they know. I warned you, right? That was the rate limiting step. The audience knows.
Oh, here comes that dog.
I should go edit the Wikipedia page and see how long it lasts. What? The Wikipedia page for NARC?
I guarantee it exists.
Yeah, somebody's done it. Yeah,
that's a cool outreach too. I did the Wikipedia training.
Oh, that's fun.
And it was really fun.
The card slot.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then through the door.
Through the door. Okay.
Yeah, I don't do enough Wikipedia editing, but I do donate to their cause because we need Wikipedia.
Me too.
So I don't, yeah. I'll support it, but not write things. It's something like 90% of the content is written by like 0.01% of the people or something ridiculous. Yeah.
And if you do update, you'll know who those people are because they'll change. Like the MabLAB page has someone that like is very aware and changes if anything gets updated.
Oh, so you contributed to the MabLAB?
I have not contributed to the MabLAB. This is what I hear from my colleagues at the MabLAB who do update the page. So the Wikipedia training that I did was to get to create pages of women in science.
Oh, fun.
So it was really fun.
All right, so here you're going to go to the right, and when you get to the door, you're going to have to shoot the people wearing black who are shooting heroin needles at you. You're gonna have to shoot
it.
them.
That's what that is. Yes. Oh my God.
Don't you remember the 80s? Okay, you're going to shoot these guys with bullets.
Okay.
So hold
it down. Okay.
Yep, and one of them's going to drop a blue card. So you're going to want to be in like this range over here.
Okay, there. Is that it?
No. You'll see.
What is that?
Blue. So kill those guys. That's a bag of cocaine, I think. And the other one's, well, there it is, blue card. Boom, you got it.
Did I get it? Okay, how do I pick it up?
Hitbox, just move around a little bit.
Okay. Ooh. Come on, guys.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, now card swipe and through the door. All right, a little further right, There you go, through the door. You got it. All right. So one interesting question I want to ask you, I mean, there's a big push for women in science, obviously, to balance out those numbers. But at some point, that pendulum has swung the other way in certain disciplines, right? Like biology, especially in teaching, right? It's a female-dominated field. And is there a push to go back the other way? Like in terms of we need male teachers?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely in teaching. And when I first started in this, people would bring up nursing as...
oh, yeah, that's a very female
as a female-dominated. And so I would say that we want... So oftentimes what the way that I look at it is, we want on par with what the population is. So we don't want any overrepresentation in one way or the other. And teaching is absolutely dominated by women. And we do want... because you need role models in all of these areas. And one of so elementary school is predominantly female teachers. I think the number, I don't know.
So you can jump in the car with a B button and stay at the bottom of the screen. Tap B.
Tap B? Nope, that just made me I hopped into it.
And you're going to run into stuff, which is fine. You save some time.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
Yeah. So it's like we want male role models for elementary school kids to see, to just, see people that to see men caring and in that role. So yeah, I would say teaching is definitely a field, and we also want more teachers. It's predominantly white, the field of teaching. So
tap B to jump.
Oh, that's very high.
Tap. There you go. All right, now walk.
Oh, now walk.
Slide. Physics.
So yeah, so I think like there's always a goal for more diversity in teaching because it is incredibly female dominated and predominantly a white field.
Yeah, it was crazy to see the demographics of my kids' elementary school. It's very dominated one particular way, which is, yeah, again, if you're looking for equity on that front. Is there any surprising statistics you know off your head, like disciplines where it might surprise you, the ratio? I mean, so math is heavily male, maybe more so than engineering, chemistry, physics. Biology is...
Probably, I mean, so for biology, certain levels, so the undergraduate level, bachelor's degrees in biology are more women, like probably 60, ouch, probably like 60% women. Man.
Yep, just keep walking.
Okay.
They'll keep clipping your heels, but they won't bite you. This is NARC.
And then what happens is as you get to like graduate school, it's probably like 50%, but then in faculty, and it makes sense. So like if we have 60%.
Jump in the car, you're going to want to stay on the bottom. Tap B. There you go. Stay at the bottom. Go up to the top. It'll get you a little bit extra time. And then keep going.
So, what was I talking? Oh, so biology. So, it makes sense. So if you have 60% biology, they're not all going to go into graduate school. And then you've got to wait the time because there's and then for faculty, you've got to wait the time. So it's like if it was 100% men, let's say, like we were talking about Los Alamos, it's going to take a lot longer because even when you're bringing in new people, they're not all women, and even at that rate, they're not going to get to 50%. So
for decades.
Yeah. So that's why it's also important just to focus on the reasons why we want diversity.
Keep walking.
Okay, no shooting.
Nope.
The reasons why we want diversity is for ideas. And research does show that.
So get in the car and stay at the bottom of the level. So tap B, stay at the bottom. This will take you all the way to the end.
Cool. The diversity of ideas. How is he doing that?
It's Joe Rockhead. He's hardcore. Slow down. You can move up and maybe get away from him. Press up.
Yeah. Now I'm just like spinning my wheel.
Down. Press select. It'll turn you around, actually. I don't think a lot of people have seen this. You can also shoot a rocket out of the car. So A button tap. Try pressing up. You might be able to get off. Press select again. Turn around. Bath Saltberry. We are in Florida. All right. Does it let you move up or down on the screen?
No.
Oh my god. Yeah, just shoot him. Go back to the car, though. Shoot him. Okay. Yeah, now get back in the car.
Back.
All right, jump in quick before he comes back. Go. Saltberry.
He's the worst.
All right, rocket him. Get in.
Okay. Shoot.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Oh, there's
everywhere.
Many of them. All right. Ugh.
Bullets just slow down bath salts. Yes, they do not kill them.
Okay. Oh no, he's in the car.
He's so fast. We've never had this battle. It might be quicker just to walk.
Okay.
Yeah, just run with it. Mr. Big has competition now? Absolutely.
I'm just gonna go through him.
Oh, man. All right, so we talked about control experiments when we were talking about, predicting outcomes, whether you deprive a group of education so you can have a control group. But that leads to one of our favorite questions on the stream. Unlimited budget, no moral qualms. What experiment do you do? And so note, somebody like Sarah Hart, who does twin study who wants to do octuplets. That door right there. Okay. It's got a weird. You could, generate a whole army of octuplets and separate them at birth, right? You could have 4 of them low poverty or low income, 4 of them filthy rich. Like, what's your ultimate study? What's your Manhattan Project? And again, no moral qualms. Thought experiment is what we'll describe this as.
Yeah.
Unlimited budget thought experiment. And so what I would think of in this domain, it would be interesting to like generate a female-dominated science environment and put a male in that field and see if the statistical outcomes are the same.
I mean, I think that they would, like, if you have an overrepresentation, I think someone feeling isolated and alone is going to happen. Oh, exit. Okay. Into the adult bookstore? Oh my God.
Yeah, this is.
I think, I think it's going to be just as bad, like if that were the situation.
So you're going to grab that card, walk through the door, but don't walk too much up. You might want to rocket those guys. Just so get the safe card.
Okay.
Go through the door. Left. Okay, go again. This happens every time. When you press up outside of the door, it puts you back in the room. Right. This guy's giving you all sorts of troubles. Go farther to the right. It'll be the last door on the right. So press up, but not too much. Oh,
I did it again.
Yep, exactly. It's. I hate that they drop you out there, but this is a consistent theme in the game.
Okay.
But with that, I mean, there's a certain amount, like, how much of the artificial male confidence is inherent, and then how much is it environmental? So if you go left, there's the keycard door. I mean, I guess it would be a way to test that experiment.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah, like if you're like if you're the dominant group, there's going to be a level of confidence. So yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, so along that vein, I mean, unlimited budget, no moral qualms. Control for every variable. What would you do?
Wow,
so you're going to go left on this one.
Okay.
And these are marijuana plants.
Oh, okay.
In case you were curious.
Yeah, I was like, why are there Christmas trees?
So you're going to shoot the white guy, and then the Rambo guy will come back. And you're going to want to shoot the Rambo-looking guy with bullets. So if you go to the right a little bit, so go further this way, kill that. Yep,
there he is. Okay.
Yeah, shoot him with bullets, because he needs to drop a green card, and he won't do it with rock. There we go. For some reason, Nintendo rules says if you blow someone else up, they don't drop a green card. But if you shoot them with bullets... Time to make a NARC mod holiday edition with a little Santa hat sauntering along. Put some reindeer in front of him as he saunters. I like in Misadventures. You have a holiday assignment now. We're back streaming on January 8th. If you send me the mod, I promise we will play it. God, this game. How do you feel about me making every guest play this game? Because this.
Oh, I'm getting hit with the heroin needles.
Oh, so that's a clown with a knife.
Yeah, what's the clown with the knife doing?
You've clearly forgot the 80s, because that's what everything was like.
I mean, this is like a fever dream of...
What you imagine the world runs.
Yeah.
So you did Dare like I did back in the day, right?
I actually have a funny story. So when I was teaching, Dare was still coming. This was the early aughts. And the Dare came with their dogs. And I remember, like, right before he went up to talk, he was talking to the principal. And after his discussion, his presentation, they called a number of names on the speakers, a bunch of students, and the guy had witnessed 3 students in a parking lot across from the school exchanging cases of beer into their cars. And they were I taught at a Catholic school, so they were in the school uniform. And when he walked in, he was like, "Those were your students." And so he caught them, but then he had the drug sniffing dog that was went out into the parking lot. And as it turned out, the 3 students that were shift, like putting the cases of beer into their cars for, they had a list of names, like they had been getting names for the money donation. So everyone on the list,
wow,
got in trouble and weren't allowed to go to the junior prom. And I was like, the day they chose to do this was the day that Dare came. So they all got caught and couldn't go to junior prom.
Oh my God. But that was in trouble with the school. They didn't get in legal trouble.
There was no legal trouble. Yeah,
okay.
There's no, the dog did sniff cars, but I don't think anyone got in trouble for that. But I can't remember.
Man. But speaking of evidence-based practices, I do this rant every stream, but Dare does not work. It's been shown over
There's
again.
research showing that it does not work. That's absolutely true.
We keep doing it because it makes us feel
Does
good.
it still happen?
I think it does.
Does it?
I don't know. Anyone recently or have kids old enough to be in school? I think it does.
Abbott Elementary has a funny thing about Dare.
So you are on to Mr. Big.
Okay.
You got to shoot him with rockets. So that guy right there in the wheelchair.
Oh, in the wheelchair?
Yes. So what you're going to want to do is be down here.
Okay.
And just kill everything on screen. And when he comes back, okay. Shoot rockets. Yep.
That's
so
bullets.
Tapping it. Yep.
Tap. Oh,
Yep.
oh.
There you go. That's one. So you got to do that 3 times.
Okay.
Because this is how you win the war on drugs. You shoot the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah, this seems very violent. Like, I don't know how the violence stops the war on drugs.
It's not clear to me why they haven't made this into a movie yet. So somebody needs to write the right letters.
What's been the best response to the question of no moral qualms and no
Oh, man, I mean it varies dramatically. So my answer is I want to build an evidence-based city. So every single aspect of a city, right? Like from the power to the sewer system, to the education system, the economics, like just use the best practices, best materials and have a city and see if it can self-sustain and the impacts of that. Other people have said things like they want to start life from scratch. Like we basically have the tools to do that. We could do that. It would take a massive effort.
Yeah.
But that would be a really cool one. Scott Stagg said he wanted to start a religion on Carl Sagan. So we have an emote that's Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. I mean, that's the advantage. I'm not religious by any means, but there's a certain like cultural, social aspect to religious that would be great for society to have, right? But not necessarily with all the dogmas and the things that drag down progress.
Yeah.
So the idea was, can you create a religion around Carl Sagan?
Oh, I think that would be such a good like non-religious religion.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he was advocating for, right? Like, just sit around and read Pale Blue Dot, right? And like,
when I hear recordings of him, and I tear up. Like, I just tear up. Like, I never really paid attention to Carl. Like, I'm too young.
Top of the screen.
Okay, this is it.
So all the way up, all the way up, all the way up.
Yep.
Jump rockets.
Okay. Oh, I'm not pressing it. I'm not pressing it light enough.
Run to the right, get some distance away, turn around, do the thing, do it over and over again. But yeah, that's what he was amazing about. He was very, like, his delivery was so calm and even keeled.
Yeah.
Like, I will never be a popular science communicator. I'm too high strung. I deliver words too quickly. But him, it was like just talk you into bed at night kind of thing. Like, he was just amazing. So it's tap B, then tap A.
Okay.
I live outside of Clearwater. Be careful what you wish for.
For a religion? Is that what that is?
Is there a Clearwater-based cult?
Yeah, it's Scientology.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I said science, not science fiction. That doesn't count as science. Yeah. Your what is it, Thetan meters?
Yes!
Which are like... It's like they're potentiostats, right? They just measure a voltage across skin. And, oh man, you're affected.
I watched that documentary on HBO and it was like mind-blowing.
So what gets me about that is people shit on Scientology, but then you look at something like Mormonism and it's like the 1800s version of that. And you can basically track every religion down to some origin story. Maybe not spaceships involved, but...
Yes, Scientology has some uniqueness.
Yeah, it does. It has, like, looking in a hat to decode the message from God. Like, come on, guys. Anyway, Carl Sagan religion would probably have different goals from Scientology. I agree. I don't even know if there has to be goals. Just like an appreciation for understanding the universe would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just elevate that mentality, imagine the cultural influence that has.
And I think just a sense of like how we're all connected to it, you know, like.
Or an appreciated in the history. Like there's one from Cosmos where he talks about how they originally figured out the diameter of the Earth, right? Just looking at shadows, and he showed it with this really simple demo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, yeah, deity Carl Sagan. Yeah, a range of answers on this question. Oh man, I don't remember who it was. They wanted to blow up the moon.
Wow, that would be insane.
Yes, but see the impact on tidal waves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's any scientific value in that.
That's some chaotic, like, evil right there. Like, that's a different...
Oh, man. If anyone else remembers suggestions we've had on stream. But yeah, those are some of the biggest ones. But, like, Manhattan Projects for various... Little lighter on the tab.
Okay.
That was close. Timing was good on that.
Yeah.
The light tap is what gets you. So you don't even need to press the button down all the way necessarily.
Okay, for the rocket?
Personally, I don't use science as an excuse to for my desire to blow things up. But it's a classic, like, Gen Chem demo, H2 plus O2, boom. Melko came in just to diss Lincoln. That was weird. I don't remember that, Schmonite. What? It's got a problem with Lincoln? All right. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Josh Melko is a professor at University of North Florida, and he actually started doing his office hours via Twitch. He got much higher attendance, not just from his students, but others. So, yeah, he was one of the original, like, science education related streamers. And yeah, I had him on as guest, which was kind of fun. He was in town to give a talk, so.
Oh, that's cool. So it's not all FSU.
No, if anyone has a guest speaker that wants to do Ask the Scientist, I'll host it. Like, I'm happy to do it. It frees up my schedule. So yeah, I've had several external visitors on stream. All right, turn around now. Mm-hmm. Try it. Tap. A little gentler on the A. Oh, that was so close. That was so close. All right, any last minute questions for Roxanne? She's so close to beating the final boss. If we let Melko on, we'll let anyone on. That's true. The only requirement is having a PhD/JD. I don't know why I've limited that. I just don't want to have a bombardment of students who clearly play video games. I want us to suck at the video games. That's part of the theme. But yeah, as we come to the end of the stream, if you guys have suggestions on someone we should raid, preferably science-related, but we're flexible in general. If there's anyone we should go to, put your suggestions on chat. We'll take our small army of viewers to them. So believe it or not, you are on a reasonable timeline for this game.
Oh.
This is the rate limiting step for most people. So if you get past this one, you saw the rest of it's pretty easy. It's just this shot right here is the one that costs everything.
Wait, there's more after this?
That's just the blow up the head and then the skeleton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so close. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Either way. Top of the screen. Tongues don't hit you.
Oh, yeah.
So this started as a joke 5 years ago, and now you are in on it.
Who was the first person?
Oh, so it was me. So I had this game as a kid. So this was one of the bargain bin, like, you walk out of Blockbuster and it's like $5 because nobody wants it. And that was one of the, like, 7 games we had. And so we played the hell out of NARC. We eventually got a Game Genie and beat it. I don't think I ever beat this legitimately as a kid. Because you only get 3 lives to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was, as challenging as any of these classic games. But with Infinite Lives, we eventually beat it. And then I played it on stream. And then it became a running joke that I made everyone play on stream. Which I like the timing aspect. Something... Oh, that was so close. Top of the screen. Probably go left. Get away from him. Get some room. As soon as he's off screen, turn around, give it a try. Then run away and try again. So when's the university? Does the MabLAB close down officially during the holiday break?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as the 23rd through January 1st.
The doors will be locked, so we can tell your audience that because you can't break in.
Nor would you want to.
It's not that exciting.
Walk in the wrong part, you clear your credit cards. Like, just don't do it. Actual education coming in with a raid? Man, thank you for the raid, Actual Education. If you guys haven't checked out the stream, here's a link right there. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. Hopefully I had a good stream. We'll see what you guys were up to. Yeah, Actual Education, all about tutoring math and science, talking about things on stream. Oh, a 501c3 nonprofit that rewards students for learning math and science. That's awesome.
Oh,
Science
that's cool.
outreach related things. Helping out with finals tutoring. Tis the season for finals. Hopefully you got some good questions in there. Last minute. We have a college admissions guru coming out for an AMA on Friday. That's fun.
Yeah.
This is like admissions high school to college. That's really cool.
And important.
Yeah. No, it's especially students that don't have the insider information.
Yeah.
Like that they just don't know the rules, they don't know the strategies. He was on a Netflix he was on that Netflix documentary.
No way.
Varsity Blues, what? But the ethical side apparently.
Oh, after all of the parents cheated their kids' way in.
Yeah, the rich parents cheated their kids in. God. Freaking people. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we do a annual Q&A graduate admissions one.
Oh,
and so
cool.
It's like we send it out to all prospective students, a bunch of PUIs, and say, here's what the application process is, here's what grad school's like. So yeah, it's fun to do that. I love doing that stream every year. And we inevitably have some people put it in their personal statements when they apply. They're like, I saw it on Twitch and I was interested and I applied. And I'm like, yes, totally worth it.
I'm getting tired.
Oh man, let me know. I can intervene. If you're sick of it, I can intervene and jump in and get this step going.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
But you do get an asterisk next to your name.
That's fine.
If you're okay with
That's
it.
fine.
All right. Let's do it. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run away, get him roughly off the screen. Oof, a little high. Washed up. There we go. All right. So then we're gonna get out of here. I'll get you to the next phase at least. So I was the guest when we were doing that stream, so I got to play this on stream. It was fun. It's been a while. What is he doing? Why is he not? There we go. All right.
Okay.
So then it's just bullets. Stay between these black lines. Shoot bullets back at him. Walk away. So press start, and he'll go back in the game. All right. But yeah, Actual Education. Thank you for the raid, everyone. Yeah, we're actually at the tail end of NARC. At the end of every stream, we make our guest play NARC. Our guest today is Dr. Roxanne Hughes, who's an expert in science education, STEM identity, education and interventions, and studying those and how they impact students that go into STEM, science-related fields. So yeah, if you have any last-minute questions, we're probably 5 minutes away from the end, maybe a little less. So you're going to want to stay down here.
Okay.
You can't shoot at the top for some reason because Nintendo and hitboxes are weird. But yeah.
And it's bullets, right? It's bullets that I have to use, or does it matter?
Bullets,
yeah.
Okay. So there's 2 vertebrae, so run away. Do it again. What is STEM identity? That is a great question. We haven't
Sure. Yeah, so the way that I define STEM identity, because there's ways to look at it, is a person's first, a person has to demonstrate their competence in whatever STEM field or discipline. They have to develop those skills and have competence, and then they have to perform them. So that could be performances on tests. That could be having a teacher notice you. that could be a number of things, and they have to be recognized for that performance. And I also include sense of belonging. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. Like, you have to have an interest first. So to even feel like you want to do STEM,
Go right.
you have to have an interest, but part of that interest is based on like your sense of belonging and the relevance of it. And then you want to develop your skills and perform them, and you have opportunities to be recognized by people. So that is STEM identity.
Cuddle Puppy, our troll. And they have to bully social scientists and fine arts specialists. That's science identity right there. Thank you, Cuddle Puppy. You have solved it. Go right. Civil forfeiture the level.
Wait, so why am I in like a vault with gold now?
Oh, because you beat the drug dealers and now you steal their money.
Oh, so that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's
so
realistic.
this is okay. This is quite a game.
That's it. 29-39. We have won the war on drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Glad you guys got to raid in time to see that. We won NARC, the video game. What was it? No one had the guts.
No one had the guts.
Now, you did it. Roxanne, now you get to put your initials in.
With an asterisk.
And it'll be immortalized for the next 5 minutes while this window is open. So you will be forever on the scoreboard with all our colleagues across all disciplines. You're like the 80th guest to play this game.
Right.
Fun factoid. I'm the former world record holder in speedrunning this game.
How did I mess that up? Hold on. How do I go back?
Rub.
Okay.
Rub is go
Okay.
backwards.
Let's see.
Dr. Rocks. Do you go by Rocks? What do you?
I go by Roxanne.
I mean, Rocks is a good 3 initial.
Like, that's what I was gonna do because, oh my gosh, why can't I get anything now?
It's because your finger.
There. Okay. Okay.
Oh.
I'm just gonna go with rocks because that's how I'm feeling right now.
I like it.
Okay. End, right?
Yep.
There it is.
There it is. Contact your local DEA agent because they're recruiting you because you won the game. Congratulations. Woo! All right, it's 11:05, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great stream. It's been an interesting journey. Been through a lot of conversations from, man, talking about Manhattan Project to Big Bang Theory, the show. Like, we've been all over the place. Roxanne, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for saying yes to this. You got a cold email that said, hey, I do science outreach. Do you want to give it a try? And you said yes, and I appreciate that you did. It's been fun. You beat Super Mario
I mean, I didn't really beat it, but I got way further than I've ever gotten.
I mean, with Game Genie, we beat it. We beat NARC and Super Mario Land.
It's got an asterisk next to it, but it was still further than I've ever gotten before, so it's still fun.
So any parting words for the audience? Anything you want to share? Knowledge bombs? Things you wish they knew, the general populace knew about your expertise?
I think that anytime people ask me about STEM identity and what I study, I tell them to think about a time when you've been in a space where you didn't feel like you belong, and what that does to like your ability to fully participate or do that. Whether it's like, I didn't go into an arcade because I didn't feel like I belonged. I hear people talk about that with the gym, like they don't feel like if you're just getting started at like kind of working out. And so think about that. And I think that makes sense to folks when you think about those spaces and feeling like you don't belong and what that does for your ability to thrive or continue to pursue it. And so I like to get people to think in that perspective and then think about like if you did feel like you could thrive in STEM, how many more scientists we would have if they saw opportunities. And it might have just been one class or one moment. So the more we can kind of alleviate those moments and make people feel more comfortable in those spaces, I think is like just better for humanity because science is cool.
Going full circle back to the original story, it was the one teacher that said, what was it?
Medicine is not the right place for you or something to that effect. And I never asked. I will never know.
I mean, there's still time. That's one email away, one Facebook post away from knowing.
He's retired now. I don't even know how I would get in touch with him.
Man, that is amazing. All right, just know the things you say impact other individuals. Be thoughtful about those. Science is awesome. We should all know that. And MabLAB makes more than $200 million for Tallahassee, is what we learned tonight. All right, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate the time. Thank you for the raid, Actual Science science, actual education. We really appreciate it. We're going to raid somebody else. If you guys have suggestions, throw them in chat. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. This is the last stream of the year. We will do it every 2 weeks starting in the spring, but man, I don't know. I need to find a guest for January 8th and fill out the entire schedule, which I have not done yet, but I'm going to panic email a whole bunch of people over the next week. But we'll figure out January 8th. We will be back. If you're not following us on Twitter or Discord, follow it. I'll put the schedule up for the spring. We'll have something like 10 springs. It'll also be our Hunter stream in March, so that'll be kind of fun. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy your holiday break. Hopefully you get a holiday break. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the follow, Y83916F, however that is pronounced. But yeah, thank you as always. And Roxanne, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Ken.
But yeah, until next time, it's been a pleasure.